Chapter 1203. That's right. Xiong Longxiang is indeed a member of the Cosmos Party. He's amazing! When Xiong Longxiang released his aura, Sage Nirvana and the other two couldn't help but nod their heads. Rumble! Chu Yang pointed his index finger and the spiritual qi condensed into a tiny star. Suddenly, it stretched and turned into a star spear. The starlight was like a tide and the surging spiritual qi was like the tide of the universe. After he had obtained Beiqianxing's star martial soul, he had made rapid progress. Every day, his understanding of the star martial soul would become deeper. The star spear pierced out at lightning speed and tore the sky apart. The dazzling starlight affected people's vision. There were thousands of changes and illusions. As the spear pierced down, the surroundings seemed to have been torn apart. He took the initiative to attack Xiong Longxiang and pointed the spear at his throat. What? Xiong Longxiang's keen divine sense sensed danger. When the starlight shone on his skin, a layer of goosebumps appeared. In an instant, his pupils contracted. He had never expected that Chu Yang, a small wild dog, would have such powerful means. Wild dog, you are really presumptuous. You dare to use a finger to deal with me. Xiong Longxiang immediately stretched out a finger. It shone with a dignified Buddhist light and the roar of a huge elephant came out from his finger. His finger was like a divine elephant trampling on the ground. It hit the tip of the star spear. This finger seemed to encompass the entire universe. The moment this finger appeared, the surrounding heaven and earth essence qi was completely devoured, leaving not a single drop behind. A small black hole appeared on the tip of Xiong Longxiang's finger. It was like a huge elephant trampling on the void. Starry sky palm, stars fall. Chu Yang exerted his strength again. Endless spiritual qi poured into the star spear. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into the ruler of the starry sky. Endless light burst out from his body. He stepped on the 9 heavens and 10 earths and grasped the endless starry sky. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The void shook and the earth trembled. The starry sky appeared above Chu Yang's head. Countless suns, moons, and stars swayed. The crowd was affected and the spiritual qi in their bodies swayed. Bang! The star spear collided with Xiong Longxiang's finger without any fancy moves. In an instant, Xiong Longxiang's entire body shook violently. He wanted to activate his power to attack, but at the moment of contact, he found that a supreme power that was even more shocking than his own came crashing down. It felt as if a star in the starry sky had smashed down on a giant elephant. Damn it! The wild dog actually has the star martial spirit. Xiong Longxiang quickly changed his move. He retracted his finger and swung his arm out like an elephant's trunk. It was as if a god was going to pluck the stars and grab the moon. An even more dazzling light of Buddha shone from his palm again, as if a Buddha had appeared during a natural disaster and caught the falling stars. The light of Buddha shone upon all living beings, giving them hope and saving them. But Xiong Longxiang had just grabbed the star spear when Chu Yang pointed his finger again. 7 stars appeared and connected into a line. Then, an even more astonishing star spear was formed and pierced towards Xiong Longxiang. Xiong Longxiang's expression changed completely. His dragon elephant martial spirit was extremely powerful, but the stars were too heavy. The strength of the dragon elephant martial spirit paled in comparison. With a thought, a giant axe suddenly flew out from his space ring. He grabbed it and swung it at the star spear. Chapter 1204. Little brat, didn't you say you would crush me with one finger? Now you not only use one hand, but also take out your weapon. Chu Yang sneered. However, as an adult, I'm prepared for a little brat going back on his word. Xiong Longxiang's face and ears were flushed red. He was extremely ashamed and had lost all face. Therefore, he suddenly increased the strength of his axe by 10%. Roar! Chu Yang was not afraid at all. Under his will, the spear of stars let out a ferocious roar. The power of Gungjin and the power of blood and evil burst out, completely merging with the light of the stars. White Tiger, one of the 4 symbols. The star spear not only contained the profound of the star martial soul, but also the white tiger martial soul. The power of the white tiger burst out and the long spear trembled. The power of Gungjin and the power of slaughter was stimulated on the long spear. The long spear and the axe collided, as if 2 armies were fighting. Suddenly, a large army rushed out and changed the situation in an instant. Buzz! The axe was directly blown away, and the star spear stabbed Xiong Longxiang directly. Xiong Longxiang's entire palm exploded and was dripping with blood. The sleeve of his arm was completely shattered and his bones were broken into many pieces. Xiong Longxiang is defeated? He barely resisted the first move, but he could barely resist the second move. One of his arms was destroyed. Is he really Wild Dog? He not only resisted Xiong Longxiang, but also injured him severely. Is Wild Dog really invincible in the same realm? Oh my God, am I dreaming? When the experts of the Sky Academy saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Lu Yunpeng and Xia Wanjin's expressions changed instantly. They thought that Xiong Longxiang would definitely win. If he lost, not only would he lose face, but he would also lose many spiritual veins. Roar. A dragon's roar came from Xiong Longxiang's body. The dragon elephant martial soul changed from the giant elephant to the divine dragon. At this time, he was furious. Originally, he could have squashed the wild dog to death with a finger, but now, not only did he not fulfill his promise, his arm was crippled by the other party. Humiliation, a great humiliation. Kill. His body suddenly grew taller, and his spirit aura transformed into a huge dragon that coiled around his body. Then, he took out a spear and thrust it forward. The spear had a golden dragon coiling around it. It emitted a dazzling golden light as it met the spear of stars in a mysterious trajectory. Bang bang bang! The spear in Xiong Longxiang's hand was a physical weapon, but Chu Yang's spear of stars was a transformation of spirit qi. However, when the two came into contact, Xiong Longxiang's spear broke into pieces and was destroyed. Qi. Although the radiance of the spear of stars had dimmed and cracks had appeared on it, it still managed to hold on. The tip of the spear pierced an inch deep into the bear dragon elephant's throat, causing blood to gush out. Xiong Longxiang was defeated. He had been completely defeated. He had a spear pointed at his throat, and his life was in the hands of another. All the members of the Sky Academy were petrified and stared blankly at this scene. The exchange between the two was extremely fast, but it was also extremely dangerous. However, what was even more shocking was that Chu Yang was actually able to control himself so well in such a dangerous exchange. He still had strength to spare. "Little brat, call me Dad, and I'll spare your life." Chu Yang smiled evilly and mockingly. "Wild dog, don't even think about it." Bang! Chu Yang kicked Xiong Longxiang away and threw the spear of stars in his hand. It pierced Xiong Longxiang's chest and nailed him to the ground. Buzz! 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 The spear trembled and then burst into pieces. A big bloody hole appeared in Xiong Longxiang's chest, and he screamed. Unfortunately, Chu Yang could not kill him. Hurry up and save him. Chapter 1205. Everyone was speechless. Xiong Longxiang couldn't even withstand a single blow from Chu Yang. The gap was so huge. Just as Chu Yang said, Xiong Longxiang wasn't much different from Shao Chang'e. He could deal with him with just one finger. Maybe this wild dog is really invincible in the same realm. Although many people didn't want to believe it, the reality seemed to be so. Nirvana Sage, Soul Fusion Sage, and Fa Xiang Sage looked extremely serious. This Chu Yang was far more amazing than they had imagined. But until now, they still couldn't confirm whether Chu Yang was Eastern Wilderness 002 or not. They even felt that Chu Yang was leading them to believe that he was Eastern Wilderness 002. The star martial soul could be linked. In the Seven Wheels demon realm, Beichensing died under his own star Lord Seven Neils, and the one who performed it was Eastern Wilderness 002. From this point of view, Eastern Wilderness 002 definitely mastered the secret technique of Star Palace. Chu Yang had just defeated Xiong Longxiang, and seemed to have deliberately shown that he was also proficient in the secret technique of Star Palace. However, there was more than one person who mastered the secret technique of Star Palace. He might not necessarily be Eastern Wilderness 002. For example, this could also be Beichensing. I'm arrogant, so I'm here. Chu Yang shook his head confidently, and narcissistically blew up the hair on his forehead. He said to everyone, "Everyone, you were amazed by me just now, right? Are you convinced by my omnipotence? Hurry up and give me a round of applause." No one responded. Chu Yang was arrogant. What could they say now? The wild dog was strong. "Miss." Chu Yang teased Shangguanlan again and said with an evil smile, "Was I handsome just now? I think I'm very handsome." Shangguanlan didn't know why, but she suddenly had the urge to smash Chu Yang's smiling face. Chu Yang knew it was her, but he still teased her. "And you guys?" Chu Yang then said to everyone, "I say, if someone had lent me a spirit vein just now, wouldn't they be rich now? Little scum is right. You guys don't even know how to pick up the meat pie that fell from the sky." Lu Yunping was so angry that his whole body trembled. Xia Wanjin had completely lost his composure, the veins on his face throbbing. "Humph, is your expression ugly now?" Chu Yang sneered in his heart. Then, he smiled and extended his hand to the two. "You two only have a total of 13 spirit veins. In total, this sharp-eared brother has a total of 1,300 spirit veins." He then turned to Xia Wanjin and said, "Brother, I don't have many. I only have 13,000 spirit veins." 13,000 spirit veins. When Xia Wanjin heard this, his face immediately turned red from the slap. This was definitely not a small number for him. Moreover, there were 13,000 spirit veins. Where would he find them in such a short time? Waha! When the parrot heard this, it immediately laughed strangely. I'm rich. This divine bird is rich, ha ha." The parrot laughed so hard that it was rolling on the ground. It laughed so hard that it was convulsing. Then, it began to mock everyone present. "You idiots! You don't even know how to pick up the meat pie that fell from the sky. I don't even know what to say to you. Haven't you heard of the saying, heaven gives you a gift and you will be punished for it? You are all guilty." What did it mean by meat pie that fell from the sky? In the eyes of Lu Yunping and Xia Wanjin, the parrot was even more detestable than Chu Yang. Their faces were ashen, and they were so angry that their bodies trembled. They wanted nothing more than to kill this person and the bird immediately to vent their anger. "You two, please pay the bill." When Chu Yang extended his hand, the two were ashamed and resentful. They wanted nothing more than to find a hole in the ground and hide in it. How could they make such a fool of themselves in front of so many people? "I'll give it to you in a few days." Xia Wanjin didn't know how he could say such a thing. "You don't have money. Bet my ass." The parrot was furious. It opened its mouth and scolded, "You don't have any ability. You just came out to show off. Now you're satisfied. You're being humiliated very rhythmically." At this time, the two's eyes were almost spitting fire. They glared at the parrot. They wanted nothing more than to kill this damned bird, pluck out its feathers, cut open its belly, and barbecue it. "I allow you to buy on credit, and I also allow you to go back on your words." Chapter 1206. It was better to catch up with the enemy bravely than to learn from the overlord. Chu Yang had won 2 rounds in a row. Now that he was in a good mood, he was as aggressive as a tiger. The people of the Sky Academy looked terrible. They were really being ridden by a wild dog in the eastern wilderness, but they could do nothing but watch him act presumptuously. The Nirvana Sage, the Fa Xiang Sage, and the Soul-Merging Sage were the most upset. They were powerful figures in the Sky Academy and could do whatever they wanted. The students of the Sky Academy were not respectful to them, but now they were provoked by a wild dog. They were angry but powerless. If we fight in the same realm, I may be able to compete with Xiong Longxiang with my combat experience, vision, and comprehension of martial arts at a high realm. But I'm afraid I'm definitely not a match for this wild dog. The soul-merging sage and the other two looked at each other silently and thought, this wild dog is almost as strong as those dormant geniuses of the Sky Academy. If I were him, I'm afraid I would be humiliated by him. Waha! The parrot laughed strangely and arrogantly, as if it was not Chu Yang who had won, but it. It shouted at the people of the Sky Academy, guys, didn't you say that the bear was very good? And you laughed so happily. Why are you mute now? Especially the two of you. The parrot looked at Lu Yunpeng and Xia Wanjin with a sneer and said, you've really vividly explained what it means to be a fool with a lot of money. Lu Yunpeng and Xia Wanjin's faces were instantly peeled off. Their faces were so red that they looked like they were bleeding. It was as if they were already dripping with blood. The two of them flew into a rage out of humiliation, but they could not say a word because they were called a fool with a lot of money. They had indeed misjudged. Chu Yang's cultivation was far beyond their imagination. Xiong Longxiang's cultivation was indeed ridiculously strong, and his martial arts foundation was incomparably solid and deep. Ordinary people would not be able to catch up to him, which was why they had made such a bet. The two of them didn't speak, and the parrot became even more arrogant. My lord, you are so handsome and have a good life. You really deserve to be the stallion of the Sky Academy. You are so arrogant and domineering. I say, the three of you, my lord is challenging you. Do you dare to accept? Bastard bird, what kind of bullshit stallion is this? Cui Xinho and the other two didn't like to hear that. Bullshit, stop tarnishing the reputation of the eastern wilderness. The parrot was furious. What do you three know? My master is invincible and as lonely as the snow. All the females in the world should be the object of my master's affection. Then, he will give birth to a litter of little masters and completely revitalize the eastern wilderness. It added, I say you three should read more books. You don't even know the most basic thing about carrying on the family line. Cui Xinho and the other two were speechless. This bullshit bird was extremely shameless. However, they couldn't refute it as it made sense. When Chu Yang saw that Shangguan Lan was glaring at the parrot, he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. My fiancée is jealous? I'm afraid that she is a super jealous lover. She doesn't even know what the 3 obedience and 4 virtues are. This is bad. Wild Dog's spiritual energy has been refined to the level of the soul amalgamation realm. Moreover, his cultivation is extremely profound. Although he is only at spirit stage level 8, he is definitely not inferior to the soul amalgamation realm. He can kill people who are of a higher realm than him easily. Therefore, it would be extremely difficult to defeat him in the same realm. The Nirvana Sage secretly transmitted a message to the Fa Xiang Sage and the Soul Amalgamation Sage. As for the evildoers of the Sky Academy, such as Lu Yunpeng and Xia Jinwan, they are all as cunning as ghosts. If they don't know the details of Wild Dog, they will definitely not make a move. I'm afraid that we can only fight. Chapter 1207. That's right. The Soul Fusion Sage agreed. However, we have to be careful. If we can't defeat him, we have to admit defeat immediately. We don't want to be humiliated by the Wild Dog. Even if we can't defeat him in the same realm, we still have time to admit defeat. The Nirvana Sage sneered. This Wild Dog thinks that he has succeeded. However, he doesn't know that this will give us the opportunity to understand his background. Once he is exposed, Lu Yunpeng and the others will definitely not let him go. After a pause, he continued, the three of us are already in the nirvana realm. After our physical bodies have undergone nirvana, they are extremely powerful. Even under the suppression of our realms, this advantage will still be preserved. My physical body is definitely much stronger than the wild dog's. If I use brute force to break through all techniques, I might be able to defeat him. When the Fa Xiang sage and the Soul Fusion sage heard this, they nodded inwardly. Using brute force to break through techniques was indeed a way to win. Then I'll test the wild dog's mental cultivation. The Fa Xiang sage said, under the suppression of the battle forbidden area, even if my cultivation is suppressed to the spirit realm, I can still use my golden crow celestial body. I'll test how strong his 7 spirits are and see how strong they are. The Soul Fusion sage said, my comprehension of the heavens and earth is much higher than the wild dog's. I can use my domain to crush him. Okay, then I'll start. After the Nirvana sage finished his discussion, he immediately said to Chu Yang, Chu Yang, since you want to challenge us, then I'll give it a try. He strode out and said in a deep voice, since you want to challenge us, the older generation, I can only thicken my face and fight against you. Chu Yang, I was a physique cultivator in my early years. I cultivated the Buddhist golden arhat body. When my physical body was at the first level of the spirit realm, I was able to kill someone at the 5th level of the spirit realm. You have to be careful. A physique cultivator that could kill someone who was 4 realms higher. Interesting. Chu Yang smiled and said, Old mister, please. The rebirth sage roared furiously as strands of golden light erupted from his body. His entire body seemed as if it was cast from gold, and waves of thunderous rumbling resounded from within his body. At the same time, his body grew taller and taller, and in the blink of an eye, he was over 10 m tall. His muscles bulged up while the vital energy and blood he emanated shot into the sky like a dragon, and his entire body was suffused with an extremely terrifying force. He turned into a small giant and looked down at Chu Yang from above. Dong. Sage Nirvana bent his knees and squatted down before leaping up, causing the ground beneath his feet to instantly shatter and collapse to form a large pit that was almost 100 meters in diameter, and then he attacked Chu Yang with the force of Mount Tai. Although he was sealed, he had passed through the Nirvana tribulation. His physical strength had reached a terrifying level of 9,000 dragon power. With such strength, he was able to kill a spirit stage 9th stage martial artist, causing the air to explode. With such strength, even a spirit stage 9th stage powerhouse wouldn't dare to get close to him. Otherwise, they would be torn apart by him with a single punch. Chu Yang raised his head and smiled at Sage Nirvana, revealing his 8 white teeth. Without dodging, he directly faced Sage Nirvana head-on. Boom! When the two palms collided, Sage Nirvana was immediately sent flying by a powerful force. It was as if he was hit by an invisible hammer. He let out a miserable shriek and fell from the sky. He was horrified and wanted to admit defeat, but it was too late. Suddenly, he couldn't help but turn upside down in the air. His head was facing down and his feet were facing up. Chu Yang's hand slammed down and nailed him into the ground like a sledgehammer. Chapter 1208. Rumble. The ground exploded as the Nirvana sage rushed out. His face was flushed red as he gritted his teeth. Chu Yang placed his hands behind his back and laughed. Old mister, you want to compete with me in terms of physical strength? You're courting death. I'm a physique cultivator, and I'm much more amazing than you. Everyone from the Sky Academy looked at each other and revealed a dignified expression. Although Chu Yang's attack was fast, they all saw it clearly. The wild dog had indeed used pure strength to slap the Nirvana sage into the ground. What amazing strength! Even those at the 9th level of the spirit stage wouldn't dare to face the power that the Nirvana sage had just unleashed. Old mister, do you want to continue? Chu Yang smiled at the Nirvana sage. The Nirvana sage almost fainted from anger. He was humiliated in front of so many students from the Sky Academy. He would probably become a joke. I admit defeat. The Nirvana sage bit out word by word. However, this was the only thing he could do. After all, he didn't even have time to admit defeat. No matter how good his previous plan was, it was useless. This wild dog's cultivation and physical strength are already so amazing. I don't believe that his mental power cultivation is also so high. The Fa Xiang sage was filled with murderous intent as he stepped out. There was already a Nirvana sage before him. If he lost, he wouldn't be as humiliated as the Nirvana sage. Such a thought made him feel relaxed. Chu Yang, I see that you're amazing. I also want to try my hand. He didn't refuse anyone. Chu Yang laughed. Old mister, please. The Fa Xiang sage was afraid of Chu Yang's powerful physical body and stood far away. A buzzing sound came from between his eyebrows as mental power surged out. With a bang, it was as if the entire world had been ignited. Amidst the surging flames, a huge sun appeared and a three-legged golden crow flew out. Mental power was originally invisible, but it actually appeared at this moment. It could be seen how powerful it was. This was the power of the Fa Xiang formed by mental power. How could a spirit stage withstand such a technique? Just as the golden crow was about to fly into Chu Yang's spiritual world, the space between Chu Yang's eyebrows suddenly lit up. A celestial figure appeared and formed a seal with both hands. Celestial being, heaven patching seal. In an instant, there seemed to be a mountain or a heavenly barrier in front of Chu Yang. The golden crow flew straight towards him at an extremely fast speed. It was like a stupid bird bumping into a mountain. With a bang, it slid down all the way. The Transcendent Sage was stunned. He was even more ridiculous than the Nirvana Sage. The Celestial on Chu Yang's forehead raised his hand and sucked the golden crow into his palm. Then it entered Chu Yang's spiritual world and disappeared. You! The Dharma Sage's face was burning red. Then, he roared, you want to refine my spiritual power? You're delusional. In his fury, he thought about Chu Yang's stupidity and couldn't help but completely relax. His Nirvana stage mental energy had gone through Nirvana, so it was extremely tough. Although it had been greatly weakened due to the suppression, how could Chu Yang, who was only at the spirit stage, refine it? The wild dog's action was simply like putting a divine sword into a cloth bag. He's simply courting death? The Transcendence Sage immediately laughed. The Nirvana Sage and the Soul-Merging Sage also laughed. They were waiting to see Chu Yang's mental energy suffer a heavy blow. However, Chu Yang was still safe and sound even after half a day had passed. This caused the smiles on the three people's faces to slowly solidify. Everyone could clearly see that Chu Yang's forehead had lit up. The three-legged golden crow that the Transcendent Sage had transformed into was now like a bird being barbecued. Chapter 1209. When the Fa Xiang Sage recalled his previous words, he was so embarrassed that he almost fainted. Chu Yang was an array master, a level 6 array master. His mental strength was already extremely powerful. Coupled with his powerful martial soul, his mental strength was even more amazing. A soul fusion realm expert couldn't compare to him at all. If it was a Nirvana realm expert, he naturally wouldn't dare to take the golden crow into his spiritual world. However, the golden crow that was suppressed to the spirit realm was nothing to him. I admit defeat. The Fa Xiang Sage didn't wait for Chu Yang to ask and directly admitted defeat. When Chu Yang opened his mouth and provoked him again, he would be even more embarrassed and unable to show his face. His physical body is already so heaven-defying. It's comparable to a physique cultivator at the 9th level of the spirit realm. Yet, he couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. How can his mental strength be so terrifying? He's invincible in the same realm. Even if he's not invincible, he's not far from it. Is our Sky Academy really going to be defeated by a wild dog? Everyone in the Sky Academy felt extremely uncomfortable. They looked at Chu Yang in the field and couldn't say a word. "Old mister, do you want to give it a try?" Chu Yang grinned and asked the Soul Melting Sage. Now, the Soul Fusion Sage was only left to be humiliated by Chu Yang. The Soul Fusion Sage was extremely nervous. Both the Nirvana Realm Expert and the Fa Xiang Sage had lost miserably. It could be said that they couldn't protect their integrity. If he lost, wouldn't he end up like them? I should be able to admit defeat if I use my domain to fight against him. He pondered for a while. Facing Chu Yang's provocation, he stepped into the field and said, "I want to see your means. Please." Chu Yang stretched out his hand again. "Okay, let me see how well you've cultivated your 7 souls." Buzz. The Soul Fusion Sage released his domain. A thick light shield rolled towards Chu Yang like a rolling boulder. Chu Yang smiled faintly. His body was as straight as a spear that was nailed to the ground. When the Soul Fusion Sage's domain was about to reach him, he suddenly released his own domain. Rumble. Chu Yang's domain was extremely shocking. As soon as it appeared, the soul-merging sage's domain became as weak as a balloon. Meanwhile, his domain was like a mountain pushed by a giant, crushing everything in its path. Bang bang bang! The merged soul sage domain directly exploded without any suspense. I admit, before he could finish his sentence, the domain came crashing down on him, crushing him into the ground. A human-shaped mark could be clearly seen on the ground. It was too late to admit defeat. Chu Yang retracted his domain and the ground exploded. Sage merged soul charged out and pointed at Chu Yang before fainting from anger. It was embarrassing, even more embarrassing than the Nirvana Sage. In a clash of domains, he was like a bug being crushed by a carriage. This scene caused Lu Yunpeng and Xiao Wanjin's expressions to darken. The Nirvana Sage and the Dharma Aspect Sage looked at the Soul Fusion Sage, who had fainted from anger. Apart from feeling ashamed, they were also very shocked. They had calculated everything very well. Logically speaking, there should be no problem, but they found it hard to accept such an outcome. The people of the Sky Academy were extremely indignant and unwilling to accept such an outcome. However, no one was confident that they could defeat Chu Yang in the same realm. If they went up, they would only be humiliated and end up like the Nirvana Sage, the Dharma Aspect Sage, and the Soul Fusion Sage. I won't do it when the flowers bloom, but I'll be scared to death when I do. If I want to fight with West Wind, I'll be wearing golden armor. Chu Yang was conceited and magnanimous, as if he was invincible in the world. He said to everyone with a trace of mockery, "Everyone, who still wants to fight with me? Is there no one else? Do you really want me to fight with West Wind?" Chapter 12:10. What is arrogance? This is arrogance. What is mockery? This is the biggest mockery. What is provocation? This is the biggest provocation. Almost everyone in the Sky Academy was gnashing their teeth. They couldn't wait to go up and tear Chu Yang into pieces. Not only did Chu Yang humiliate them, but he also wanted to play with them to the extreme. He didn't even give them a piece of cloth to cover up their shame. He stripped them naked and forced them into a corner. Chu Yang naturally knew what he was doing. In the face of the discrimination of the East Continent and the Eastern Wilderness, he was going to break it little by little and trample on the dignity and pride of the East Continent. The Sky Academy was his next target, and this was just the beginning. When his strength reached a certain level, he would trample the entire East Continent under his feet. When all the things he had done were displayed in front of the East Continent would no longer have the right to be arrogant in front of the East Continent. This would naturally generate hatred, but it was unavoidable. It was simply wishful thinking to expect the enemy to not be hostile to him. Chu Yang certainly knew that this method was not clever, but it was the most in line with his personality. As far as he was concerned, the method that he felt was the best and most appropriate method was the best and most appropriate method. After all, he didn't want to carry the burden of the eastern wilderness on his back all the time. Therefore, he wanted to be the bad guy first. He would take the lead and leave the rest for others. With the foundation laid by him, it should be much easier for the others in the eastern wilderness to follow up. This was not the first time that Cui Xinho, Olajing, and Hao Haodong had seen Chu Yang bully the people of the East Continent. Just seeing his mocking smile, his somewhat thin figure, his domineering appearance, they were still incomparably excited and incomparably emotional. This was the peerless hero of the Eastern wilderness. He alone suppressed millions of people in the Eastern Continent, laughing and cursing without restraint. He was the only one who reigned supreme and looked down on everyone in the Eastern Continent. He showed them what contempt was. Of all the people from the Eastern wilderness, the parrot was probably the only one who was unhappy. Chu Heng really is an unprecedented son of a bitch. He's stolen all the glory of the world, but this divine bird is dull and lackluster. Not a single person is looking askance at this bird. Wild dog, do you really think that you are invincible in the same realm? What a joke! A cold voice sounded. Then, the crowd saw Lu Yunpeng walking out of the crowd. His gaze was like a spear as he stared at Chu Yang and sneered. Previously, I just couldn't be bothered with an idiot like you. But now I really can't stand watching you anymore. Great. Someone from our Sky Academy has finally made a name for himself. There are countless heroes in the Sky Academy. It's just that they don't want to show off. That's why this wild dog has been so arrogant for so long. I heard that Lu Yunpeng is not only a half-human half-demon, but he is also an ultimate state expert. He has reached the pinnacle of the primitive martial realm, Chi Soul realm, and ascending soul realm. I think it's the same for the soul reincarnation realm and spirit realm. Wild dog is dead this time. Shangguan Lan's expression couldn't help but become solemn. She whispered, I'm afraid that Brother Goat might be in trouble this time. Lu Yunpeng had been sticking to her all this time. How could she not know about Lu Yunpeng? Lu Yunpeng was not only an ultimate state expert, but he also had the blood of the demon clan. He was also a descendant of a demon saint and had mastered the demon saint's supreme secret technique. She had also heard that the demon saint was very fond of Lu Yunpeng and had specially given him a lethal weapon. While tempering himself, he also used it to protect himself. Chapter 12:11. When Chu Yang heard this, he looked at Lu Yunpeng and suddenly smiled strangely. He stretched out his hand and said, Pay back the money. Lu Yunpeng instantly froze on the spot. His face was completely frozen. All his expressions were completely frozen at this moment. Everyone couldn't help but be stunned. No one expected Chu Yang to say such a thing. However, this was Lu Yunpeng's humiliation and joke. After Shangguan Lan's small mouth opened slightly, she suddenly laughed out loud. She was also very surprised. Based on her understanding of Lu Yunpeng, this sentence was probably worse than killing him. Fortunately, I was one step slower. Xia Wanjin was sweating. He also wanted to make a move just now. At this time, when he saw Lu Yunpeng frozen on the spot and embarrassed look, he secretly rejoiced in his heart. If this sentence hit Xia Wanjin in the face, he would probably want to die. He, Xia Wanjin, actually owed someone money. It's just 1,000 spirit veins. Of course, I'll give it to you. Such a humiliation made Lu Yunpeng lose his spirit. All his arrogance was gone. He couldn't be fierce or arrogant at all. Chu Yang said disdainfully, A guy who owes money still has the face to yell at his creditor. Are you crazy? You? Lu Yunpeng was almost fuming. Chu Yang's mouth was too poisonous. Chu Yang was not afraid at all. He sneered, You can't even pay back the money. What right do you have to provoke me? Besides, I'm also doing this for your own good. In my heart, Uncle Chu has the upper hand. I can't do such an inhumane thing as beating up a debtor. Do you think you have the ability? Lu Yunpeng's god of 3 corpses was furious. Whether I have the ability or not, this is still very far away for you. Chu Yang smiled evilly. The first thing you have to do now is pay back the money. If you can't do this, you're worse than a dog's fart. Money! When these words entered his ears, Lu Yunpeng felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow. He was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was his weakness, and even more so, his humiliation. He gritted his teeth and said, "So you don't dare? You don't understand human language?" Chu Yang glanced at Lu Yunpeng. Or should I say it more clearly and tell you what kind of situation you are in now? He raised his hand and pointed directly at Lu Yunpeng's nose. Owing money shows that you're incompetent. Is that straightforward enough? Are you saying that I'm useless? Lu Yunpeng was so angry that he almost went berserk. His body trembled at a high frequency. He gritted his teeth and said, "Then I'd like to see what you're capable of." But Chu Yang waved his hand and stretched out his hand again. "Return the money." Money, it's money again, and they're talking about money again. Lu Yunpeng felt dizzy. He was almost humiliated to death, but he wasn't angered to death. "Aren't you very capable?" Chu Yang looked at Lu Yunpeng and said with a smile, "Then return the money?" A penny stumped a hero. What a painful realization. Lu Yunpeng was heartbroken. As for Xiao Wanjin, when he looked at Lu Yunpeng's embarrassed look, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. If he were Lu Yunpeng, he didn't know what would happen to him, but he would definitely be more miserable than Lu Yunpeng. Waha! At this time, the parrot laughed out loud. "This divine bird has seen a strange thing today. You are so poor that you can't even eat your fill. But you still have time to play tough. Excuse me, is it okay for you to do this? Have you asked your 5 viscera temples?" "Young man," it then said to Lu Yunpeng earnestly, "as a person who has been through this divine bird advises you to solve the problem of food and clothing first before showing off. This way, even if you're called incompetent, you'll have the strength to refute." Damn bird! Chapter 12:12. Clap! The parrot stretched out its wings, just like Chu Yang stretching out his hand, and said in a crisp voice, "Pay back the money." Lu Yunpeng felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body shook violently, and he almost fell to the ground. This bitch bird was also his creditor. Lu Yunpeng, the people of the Sky Academy, had just seen Lu Yunpeng as if they had seen their savior, and now they were completely dumbfounded when they saw him being hit hard again and again. This was more miserable and humiliating than being defeated by Wild Dog. When he opened his mouth and spat out 2 words, he would make you suffer a fate worse than death. "Ha ha!" the parrot continued, "I'm talking to you out of kindness, and I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. I didn't expect you to be so incorrigible. How dare you talk back to me with vicious words? Alas, what's wrong with young people nowadays? Bitch!" Chu Yang suddenly interrupted. "Who doesn't have a difficult time? Why are you so stubborn? Will you only be satisfied when you force him to death? Was it the bitch bird that forced him to his death, or was it the bastard that forced him to his death?" The people of the Sky Academy almost cursed in their hearts. Seeing this scene, Xiao Wanjin unconsciously felt a chill on his back and broke out in a cold sweat. Chu Yang was simply a devil to him now. Pfft! Shangguanlan didn't know why, but when she saw Chu Yang's mischievous look and listened to his tone, she couldn't help but laugh, and this time her voice was louder. Immediately, Lu Yunpeng's mind buzzed. Shangguanlan? He actually made a fool of himself in front of the person he liked. At this moment, he didn't want to live anymore. His face was burning as if it was on fire. "Young man, don't be discouraged." The parrot sighed and said, "My master is right just now. Who doesn't have a difficult time? I feel it personally. For example, just now this divine bird was so anxious and angry. I was begging my grandparents and I almost knelt down. But the world is so cold that no one can help me. Crack. Shame turned into incomparable rage and resentment. Lu Yunping gritted his teeth. You look so pitiful. As soon as the parrot finished speaking, it laughed coldly in its heart. Motherfucker, you still dare to throw a tantrum? If you don't act like a good grandchild, then this divine bird will kill you. It continued, look at how pitiful you are. You owe me 300 spirit veins. This divine bird will give you one less. When the time comes, you only need to give me 299 spirit veins. Humiliation after humiliation, but it wasn't over yet. The parrot wouldn't give up until Lu Yunping didn't want to live anymore. Besides, if you want to fight with my master, it's not like there's no other way. Why don't you borrow from everyone here? You're so pitiful. No matter how cold the world is, I feel that there are still kind-hearted people like me. You kind-hearted bastard. #yen %%, #%yen. The people of the Sky Academy were already cursing in their hearts. The man and the bird could simply talk Lu Yunping to death. After this incident, not only the Sky Academy, but even the entire East Continent was even more disgraced. Swoosh. Lu Yunping couldn't stay here for half a second. With a swoosh, he rushed out quickly and disappeared in an instant. But in a short time, his furious roar resounded, 1,300 spirit veins. Get them for me immediately. Immediately. The roar was so loud that everyone present seemed to see Lu Yunping's ferocious appearance when he went crazy. They could empathize with him, and knew what kind of mood Lu Yunping was in now and what kind of humiliation he had just suffered. Arrogant people, especially people like Lu Yunping, who thought highly of themselves, would find it even harder to accept what had just happened than digging out their ancestors. Of course, for those who humiliated them, they would definitely fight to the death without any room for negotiation. Chu Yang didn't care. He had already prepared himself mentally for this. At this time, his eyes had already fallen on Shangguan Lan. He said to himself, I haven't seen you for so many years. I wonder what you've become now. Of course, he wanted to know what kind of character Shangguan Lan was now. After all, she was his fiancée, maybe the one who would spend the rest of his life with him. Why don't I have a try now? Anyway, I've already gone crazy today. It shouldn't be a problem to go crazy again. Chapter 12-13. Miss, I often see you in my dreams. Chu Yang just thought about it in his mind and spoke directly. It was understandable that he didn't greet her when he knew her the first time, but he had to greet her when he saw her for the second time. How could he not flirt with his sister when he saw her twice? He wanted to greet her directly, but maybe Shangguan Lan was not just worried about him. She had brought him a lot of trouble, and there might be other reasons. For example, she might get into trouble after he announced that she was his fiancée. Therefore, Chu Yang restrained himself. After so many years, I finally don't have to see you in my dreams. How have you been all these years? He suddenly spoke. In an instant, countless eyes stared at him like wolves and tigers, and each of them seemed to want to tear him apart immediately. Xia Wanjin's pupils shrank. Do they know each other? Thinking of what had just happened, Xia Wanjin narrowed his eyes. I'm afraid so. As for Shangguan Lan, when she heard Chu Yang's greeting, her soft heart was touched, and she almost burst into tears, but it was only for a moment. I've been good all these years. After that, Chu Yang laughed. Now you're even better, because I'm very sure now that you're the one who wants to have a nest of children with me. Shangguan Lan blushed instantly. She was thin-skinned, but she couldn't stand such words. Xia Wanjin's eyes suddenly emitted a soul-stirring light, as though someone had touched his most treasured treasure. Wild dog, how dare you! Wild dog, Miss Shangguan is not someone you can touch. Take a piss and look at your own virtue first. A toad wants to eat swan meat. Wild dog, stop dreaming. The people of the Sky Academy suddenly burst out violently as if their parents had been killed. They hurled vicious words at Chu Yang, wanting to kill him immediately and let him know that he was wrong. Chu Yang looked calm. He had even humiliated the Nirvana sage, the Dharma sage, and the soul-merging sage of the Sky Academy. How could he care about them? If that didn't work, they could just directly open the seal of the passageway and cause a huge ruckus. Who was afraid of who? Over the years, I've imagined meeting you again many times. Chu Yang's words touched Shangguanlan's heart again. She murmured in her heart, "Brother Yang, I often imagine what you will look like when I see you again." At that time I thought about it. Perhaps when I see you again, I won't know what to say, so I made a poem. I want to read it to you when I see you again. Shangguanlan looked forward to it. At this time, in her perception, there seemed to be no one else. In her eyes there was only Chu Yang, and only that smiling face. "I love you." As soon as Shangguanlan heard the words Chu Yang, her heart was beating wildly. She didn't know what to do. She blushed and wished she could find a hole to hide in. She thought, "How can you say such shameful words in front of others?" Wild dog. The animals of the Sky Academy roared and almost went crazy. Chu Yang didn't even look at them and continued, "Not only because of your appearance, but also because of my appearance when I'm with you." Chapter 12-14. I love you! Again. The eyes of the animals in the Sky Academy were almost spitting fire. Xia Jinwan also stared at Chu Yang coldly. Anger was surging in his heart, and a trace of fierce, killing intent was faintly born. "Not only because of what you have done for me, but also because of what I can do for you." Chu Yang ignored everything and did what he should do as if there was no one around. "I love you because you can call out the most real part of me. I love you because you can pass through the wilderness of my heart as easily as the sun penetrates a crystal. My foolishness, my weakness, and my madness almost don't exist in your eyes." Chu Yang made some changes. He was well aware of what he had done before, so he added a madness to the story. He felt no guilt. After the love poem was made, it no longer belonged to the poet, but to the person who needed it. "But the most beautiful place in my heart is illuminated by your light. No one else has bothered to travel so far. They all find it too troublesome to find me, so no one has discovered my beauty. That's why no one has ever come here." When Chu Yang finished reading, he found that the eyes of the animals in the Sky Academy were almost red. Their eyes could kill people, and he could even clearly feel a few blazing, killing intents. He didn't care at all. He shrugged and spread out his hands, saying to the crowd, "I can't help it. The person I love is so excellent." Wild dog, who doesn't know that she is excellent? You don't need to say that. If the animal's eyes could bite people, Chu Yang's bones would have been bitten into pieces by now. Shangguanlan's eyes were blurred. She stared at Chu Yang blankly. Every time he said, "I love you," she was so shy that she couldn't control herself. But since Chu Yang dared to say it, how could she not listen to him? And every word that followed seemed to touch her heart. "My lord, can you be more subtle? You will scare my heroine." All of a sudden, the parrot opened its mouth, and countless murderous gazes locked onto it. However, this made the parrot feel even more of a sense of existence. It continued, "Such a method of courtship has never been done before, and will never be done again. It's straightforward, but it's very violent. My lord, there are pros and cons, I see." Chu Yang rubbed his chin and began again. "I've been searching for you since I was young, and I've only just realized my love. But you don't seem to have feelings. One is the Luan and Phoenix's dwelling, the contract of life and death is shared with Zishu. The first is the falling of the hero in the flowing water, the world looks at each other coldly." After hearing this, the horny students of the Sky Academy felt that it was indeed more subtle. Although they were very angry, they didn't react so fiercely. However, someone soon cried out in alarm. "That's not right." The man was furious. He was so angry that he pointed at Chu Yang. "Wild dog, you're shameless. Shameless, where did this shameless come from? Many animals were dumbfounded. Waha! The parrot laughed. Idiots, I'll explain my lord's talent to you. You should pay attention to the first word of each sentence and connect them together. How about that? Chu Yang was slightly surprised. He looked at the first person who yelled out. This was a talent. The acrostic poem was clear at a glance when it was written on the paper, but when it was read out, it was not so easy to notice. In addition, it had to be said that the parrot was also talented. It was really good at copying words. At that moment, many people tried to copy it. The first word of the first sentence is me, and the second word of the second sentence is love. Chapter 12:15. The first word in the third sentence is you. When they are connected together, it means I love you. When the last four sentences are connected together, it means I love you forever. In this case, it means I love you forever. As soon as the result came out, the horny students in the Sky Academy were in an uproar again. Wild Dog was really shameless. He said, I love you forever. Didn't he know it was immoral? In the face of such censure, Chu Yang could only roll his eyes. Immoral? In my previous life, I have seen people nibbling and hugging each other as if no one else was around. It's immoral. You don't know what it is like. Shangguan Lan now wanted to escape, but she also didn't want to escape. Chu Yang was crazy. She was ashamed, but she seemed to want to hear it. Everyone, I'm sorry. You actually saw the code. I'll change it again. Again. Every horny student in the Sky Academy wanted to kill someone. They were also envious of Chu Yang's craziness. If they were so crazy, they could also say, I love you, to their goddess logically. They maliciously believed that what Chu Yang had done before was his real purpose. Humiliating Xiao Chang'e, Xiong Longxiang, the Nirvana Sage, the Dharma Sage, the Soul-Merging Sage, and Lu Yunpeng were actually all foreshadowing. Wild Dog was now showing his true intention. His target was the goddess in their hearts. Therefore, they could not help but be impressed. The Wild Dog was really going all out. In order to say such a sentence, he had done many things that did not care for his life. Ahem, ahem, ahem. Chu Yang cleared his throat and wrote a poem again. I, Chu Yang, look forward to a beautiful woman. My dream comes true. You are free and easy, young and bright. Our hearts are bound together. We live and spend the years together. I'll love you forever. Before Chu Yang could finish his sentence, another animal student scolded, Wild Dog, you haven't changed, have you? Chu Yang nodded and admitted, that must not change. It must always be, I love you for life. Only then can I show my true feelings. It will not change, even in death. He stroked his chin. It's just that I didn't expect you to be so smart this time. I haven't even finished reading, but you already know everything. Hashtag yen yen, hashtag yen yen. The animals in the Sky Courtyard were already cursing. Talented, Chu Hang is really talented, this divine bird has to admit. The parrot sighed inwardly. Yet again, it realized that it was far inferior to Chu Yang. Then it said, I have to say, my lord is truly talented. You blockheads have been enlightened. You should be grateful. This will serve as a model for all of you when it comes to chasing girls. His words were like a wake-up call. Many animals were unhappy, but they could only curse. What he said made sense. If they were not afraid of Sima Jian, many of them would have beaten Chu Yang. Anyway, Cui Xinho and the other two were already in a cold sweat. Chu Yang had gone too far. How dare he be so frivolous to the goddess of the Sky Courtyard? The palms of the three of them were already sweating. Do you like it? Chu Yang suddenly said to Shangguan Lan, which made the animals suddenly wake up. Yes, why did they pay attention to the shameless Wild Dog? How could they not be angry when their goddess was so frivolous? As far as they knew, their goddess's cultivation was extremely amazing. Therefore, they had been waiting for Wild Dog to be beaten to the point that he doubted his life. However, After hearing this, the goddess in their hearts actually let out a coy sound and fled. Chapter 12:16. Shameless! Shangguan Mei also blushed. She cursed at Chu Yang and left as if she was escaping. Rogue! The little red bird also said to Chu Yang. Then, it fluttered its wings and flew away. In an instant, the beauty was gone, leaving only the fragrance lingering in the air. Seniors, I've passed the assessment, right? I choose the outer yard where the person I love is. After Chu Yang spoke, he also ran away quickly. Swoosh! Swoosh! The parrot and Chui Xinho also ran away quickly. They didn't want to face the public's anger and be beaten to a pulp. Wild dog, where are you going? Wild dog, don't think you can leave without making it clear. Wild dog, I'll kill you today. The animals chased after them, but no matter how they shouted, they could only eat the dust behind them. Everyone, let me remind you, you'll die. Chu Yang's words made the people in pursuit shudder. It was as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They saw that they were not far away from the sealed spacetime passageway. Thinking of Sima Jian, that homicidal maniac, the group of people fled frantically. The scene was in chaos. Damn it, wild dog, I'll kill you. Xia Wanjin's face was ferocious, and he left with endless killing intent. Watching all this, the Nirvana sage couldn't help but sneer. Wild dog, you're courting death. I'm afraid he doesn't know what a femme fatale is. Humph! The soul-merging sage, who woke up, also said bitterly. If he chooses the outer yard, he'll die faster, if I remember correctly. The eyes of the Fa Xiang sage flashed with cold light. According to the rules of our Sky Academy, after the entrance assessment, it will be the chores yard assessment, and then the outer yard assessment. When new students entered, there would naturally be students entering a higher level. Only in this way could they ensure an endless stream of students. The outer yard assessment should be the death of wild dog. The Fa Xiang sage finally concluded. Yes, our Sky Academy emphasizes courage and hard work, and we rarely consider the life and death of students in the assessment. I wouldn't be surprised if wild dog was besieged during the assessment. Especially after what happened today, I'm afraid no one who admires Shangguanlan can tolerate wild dog. Everyone who admires Shangguanlan has amazing talent and background. Wild dog will definitely die. Sage Nirvana, 3 people were humiliated by Chu Yang today, and all hated Chu Yang to the bone. What a pity! Sage Melted Soul said, we've been humiliated for no reason today, but whether this wild dog is Eastern Wilderness 002 or not, we're getting more and more confused. We can't figure it out at all. As soon as these words came out, the 3 of them felt incomparably defeated. With their status, they actually couldn't do anything to a wild dog. It was really shameful. Forget it. Nirvana Sage let out a long sigh. Chu Yang, this wild dog is indeed astonishing. He is practically invincible in the same realm. It's not like we didn't gain anything. This was a forced self-consolation. Humph! Sage Melted Soul thought that he was like a bug being crushed by a car in the competition of domains. He couldn't help but snort again. We've found out a lot about Wild Dog. Whether he is Eastern Wilderness 002 or not, I'm afraid he will die in the outer yard assessment. Not necessarily. If Chu Yang, this wild dog, is Eastern Wilderness 002, I'm afraid what will happen at that time? Besides, Sima Jian, that old man, has to consider. If Wild Dog dies, I'm afraid that the old man will go berserk. Maybe he will open the seal of the space-time channel and attract the extraterrestrial demons. Sage Nirvana Sage and Fa Xiang Sage were not as optimistic as Sage Melted Soul. After that, the 3 of them also left. What happened today formed a huge storm in the Sky Academy. Chapter 12:17. Many people only paid attention to Lu Yunpeng, Xia Wanjin, and the others, but very few people paid attention to such a person, Gong Sun Long. Chu Yang sensed Gong Sun Long's killing intent, but Gong Sun Long was not the only one who wanted to kill him, so he didn't pay much attention to him. Although he didn't pay attention to Gong Sun Long, it didn't mean that Gong Sun Long didn't pay attention to Chu Yang. A dog that bites doesn't bark. Gong Sun Long saw everything with his eyes, but he did not move or say anything. He was just like a hunter sizing up his prey, observing his new prey, thinking about how to capture it, kill it, dig out its heart, peel its skin, and grind its bones to dust. Maybe I don't even need to kill this wild dog. After Gong Sun Long left, he sent someone to investigate Chu Yang's background and thought about it carefully. He naturally wanted to kill Chu Yang and avenge his brother, but he was very afraid of Chu Yang's identity. Was the wild dog the descendant of the supreme demon Venerable? Gong Sun Liang was not the only one in the Sky Academy. Many people were thinking about this question, including Lu Yunpeng and Xia Wanjin. None of them were stupid. The only difference was that Lu Yunpeng and Xia Wanjin had made up their minds to kill Chu Yang and vowed to kill Chu Yang. They were now thinking about how to deal with the situation after killing Chu Yang. Of course, Sima Jian was also in their consideration. After all, Sima Jian was a ruthless man who had shocked the Sky Academy. What happened in the Sky Academy naturally spread to the whole East continent. Because Chu Yang claimed to be Eastern Wilderness 002, it also caused a great shock. When Chu Yang made a high-profile confession and created a mess to shock the whole Sky Academy and claimed to be Eastern Wilderness 002, a group of people entered the East continent from the Eastern Wilderness. 3 people and 1 little beast. Chu Yang's elder brother, Chu Fei, Saint Child Zither, Silver Wolf, and Xiao Guai. I never thought that I would come to the Eastern continent again and step on this land. Returning to his old home, Chu Fei looked at his recovered arm and sighed. Yeah, I didn't expect it either. The Saint Child sighed as she looked into the distance. I've thought that one day I would definitely step foot on this land, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. At this moment, the Silver Wolf's emotions were also complicated. He was rescued by his master, Elder Gold, and brought back to the Eastern Wilderness. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed. At that time, he was still a baby. The 3 of them had different emotions. Chu Fei might be angry because of his broken arm, while Saint Child Chinin was angry because of the Gongsun family. As for the Silver Wolf, it was because of his deep hatred. However, other than him and the Gold Elder, no one else knew about it. His enemy was too strong. Yeah. This is the East Continent. Xiao Guai looked at everything curiously. Let's go to the deserted village first, Chu Fei said. After the Silver Wolf and Xiao Guai complete the rules of heaven and earth, we'll find the little sheep. Speaking of the little sheep, Chu Fei couldn't help but laugh. Hee. Hearing these words, the Silver Wolf seemed to have dissipated all his worries. He said with a sinister smile, I wonder what my senior brother has done to the East Continent. I'm afraid it's not light. The Saint Child Zither Sound thought about it, and Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. Based on Xiao Guai's personality, I'm sure he's done something big since the East Continent discriminates against people from the Eastern Wilderness. Yeah. Discrimination. Chapter 12:18. The Zither Saint liked this little guy very much. She patted its head and said, Little Guai, the East Continent is not like the Eastern Wilderness. As I said before, don't be too stupid and naive here. Otherwise, you might really be sold. Chu Fei thought of Little Guai's naivety and couldn't help but laugh. Little Guai. The Silver Wolf also laughed at Little Guai. You've been with my senior for so long and you're still like this. If you didn't follow my senior, I really don't know how stupid you would be. Yeah. Little Guai was indignant. How could it be stupid? Ha. The 3 of them laughed. Chu Fei said to Little Guai, Let's go, Little Guai. You can still be naive in the barren village. Once we leave the barren village, you'll have to put away your rotten good intentions. Chu Fei had been to the East Continent before, so he naturally knew about the barren village. To be exact, he was very familiar with the barren village and knew many people there. The three of them and one beast went straight into the barren village. Soon, they were noticed by 7 or 8 youths. 3 more people from the eastern wilderness. Could it be another Chu Yang? If another Chu Yang comes, the people of the eastern wilderness will dominate the world. Even if there aren't more people, Eastern Wilderness 002 alone is enough to overturn the entire East Continent. That's right. Ever since the incident at the Seven Wheels Demon Realm, the people of the East Continent don't dare to call us wild dog under normal circumstances. These youths were at the age where they worshipped others. After learning about the incident at the Seven Wheels Demon Realm, they worshipped Chu Yang. Therefore, when they saw Chu Fei and the others, they thought of Chu Yang and everything he had done. They couldn't help but feel excited. Moreover, the more they talked, the more excited they became. Chu Yang, Eastern Wilderness 002, 7 Wheels Demon Realm. When Chu Fei and the other 2 heard this, they couldn't help but smile bitterly. Just as they had expected, Chu Yang had indeed done something big in the East Continent. However, they were not very surprised, especially Chu Fei. Originally, it was just Chu Yang who was in Coiling Dragon Town. The Eastern Wilderness was also very big for Chu Yang, but what happened in the end? Now, everyone in the Eastern Wilderness knew his name, and no one dared to disrespect him. The Eastern Wilderness was huge, but Chu Fei had ample reason to believe that if his younger brother, Chu Yang, could conquer the Eastern Wilderness, he could also conquer the entire Eastern Continent. Regarding this point, Chu Fei did not doubt it, and all of this was only a matter of time. Shoo! 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 A group of 5 appeared. The one-armed man in the lead suddenly released his aura, causing the few youths in the barren village to immediately stop talking. Their faces were pale and they trembled. Among the 5, the one-armed man was dignified, but not ferocious. However, the 4 people behind him were incomparably ferocious. At this moment, the 4 people behind the one-armed man emitted a murderous aura, causing the 7 or 8 youths in the barren village to be very frightened. Uncle Hu, we were wrong. Uncle Hu, we shouldn't have said such things so casually. Slap. One of them even raised his hand and slapped himself in the face, but he didn't say anything. Not long after, the 7 or 8 youths calmed down, and their fear completely disappeared. Uncle Hu, please be faster with your knife later. A 15 or 16-year-old youth said to the one-armed man. If this one-armed man was not Uncle Hu, who else could it be? At this moment, Uncle Hu was already frowning. These were all good children. It was normal for them to make mistakes at such a young age. How could he take their lives? It's good that you know you were wrong. Uncle Hu quickly came to a decision. The village warned you time and time again, but you didn't keep it in mind. If we weren't in the barren village just now, do you know what would have happened? Chapter 12:19. Before we left the Eastern Wilderness, we were repeatedly warned not to kill anyone. Today is your first offense, so you will be grounded for 3 months. Do you have any complaints? As soon as Uncle Hu finished speaking, one of the people behind him said, No, we won't be able to face the truth if we don't kill him. If this goes on, his identity will be exposed soon. That's right. Even though he said it first, we have to worry about his safety. He's already in a precarious situation among tigers and wolves. The slightest mistake could put his life in danger. How can we ignore his safety just because we value their lives? The fierce-looking people behind Uncle Hu were incomparably cold. They had already made up their minds to kill. As for Uncle Hu, he was already speechless. If this happened outside, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not to mention that Chu Yang's identity would be exposed. If these people fell into the hands of the people from the eastern continent, their lives would be in danger. Don't blame us. We're killing you so that your parents and brothers and sisters won't be slaughtered like dogs in the future." After hearing this, the 7 or 8 youths said, "Uncles, we understand that we should be punished for our mistakes. We have no complaints. However, please be quick with your knives and give us a quick death." Good, as expected of the children of our eastern wilderness village. None of them are cowards. On the side, Chu Fei and the others were horrified when they saw this. They were just discussing a few words, and they were about to kill. "Uncle Hu, stop." With a whoosh, Chu Fei leaped and flew in front of Uncle Hu. He then cupped his fists and said to Uncle Hu, "Uncle Hu, what kind of mistake is this? You don't have to kill." "Yaya." Lil Guai was also angry. Chu Fei then said to the people behind Uncle Hu, "Brother Yang, Brother Yi, Brother Wang, we haven't seen each other for almost a year. Can you give me some face?" Chu Fei, Uncle Hu and the others all knew him. "Brother Chu, I'm afraid that's not possible." One of the 4 fierce-looking men said, "If I didn't recognize you, Brother Chu, you would have died here today." Uncle Hu and the others had already seen Chu Fei, and they did this to give Chu Fei and the others a warning. Chu Fei was definitely going to enter the barren village, and he would find out sooner or later. "Brother Yang, you are not the only ones who have been humiliated in the East Continent." Chu Fei spoke again. "The butcher knife in our hands should not be pointed at our own people, but at those who discriminate against us in the East Continent. Who are you? Did we ask you to beg for mercy on our behalf? Say no more. We made a mistake and we deserve to die. There's no need for you to plead for us." Chu Fei pleaded for mercy for these 7 or 8 youths, but they did not appreciate it at all. "Do you see this, Brother Chu? This is the seed of our eastern wilderness." Brother Yang said proudly. "The seed of our eastern wilderness is like this, and you still want to kill it?" Chu Fei could not help but show a trace of anger on his face. "You guys, this is too much. Even the Saint Child could not stand by and watch." The Silver Wolf sneered and said, "Only idiots would do such a thing. You're making your enemies happy and your friends suffer." Yeah. Xiao Guai was even angrier, and its little paw pointed directly at the man who spoke to Chu Fei. "Brother Chu, you don't have to say anything. We know what we're doing. Brother Yang, can't you give me some face?" "Your face is not enough." Chu Fei was angry and said coldly, "Then is my little brother's face enough? Brother Yang, can you give my little brother some face?" "Little brother?" Chu Fei's little brother. Chapter 12:20. Brother Chu, who is your little brother? After that, Brother Yang and the others couldn't help but look at Chu Fei. Chu Fei smiled. "Brother Yang, listen carefully. His name is Yang. He should be the Chu Yang you're talking about, Eastern Wilderness 002. Boom. Uncle Hu and the others were shaken to the extreme. They were extremely shocked and astonished. "Guys, can you give my little brother some face?" Saint Child Zither also said, "My little brother's name is also Yang. The Chu Yang you're talking about is Eastern Wilderness 002. Silver Wolf also smiled. "Guys, can you give senior brother some face? His name is also Yang. The Chu Yang you're talking about is Eastern Wilderness 002. Yeah. Xiao Guai cried, saying that Chu Yang was its brother. Could they give its brother some face? After Uncle Hu recovered from his shock, he couldn't help but smile bitterly at Chu Fei. "Ah Fei, do you have to be like this? Do you have to show off like me?" It wasn't just Uncle Hu. Even Brother Yang and the other 4 fierce-looking people felt a little indignant. They had seen people showing off, but never to this extent. "Yes, it's very necessary," Chu Fei said very seriously. "Because Uncle Hu, Brother Yang, your brains are stuck in the door. Paper can't wrap fire. There are no secrets in this world forever. What you did just now, in my little brother's words, is already deformed. You're completely abnormal. It's indeed necessary, and it's extremely necessary. Saint Child Zither emphasized. Little brother, if he knows that many people in the barren village died at your hands because of him, I think he'll curse you until you can't raise your heads. He'll even strip you naked and hang you up to dry. Uncle Hu and the others were speechless for a while. They knew very well that Chu Yang had already done this in the sky courtyard. And after hearing this, they were very sure of the identities of these people. Without a doubt, they were Chu Yang's friends and relatives. Silver Wolf continued with a smirk, don't think that this is the highest punishment. I think with my senior brother's character, if he knew about this, he would probably explode with anger. Maybe he would even invent some new inventions on you. I can guarantee that with my character, you will definitely be miserable. Yeah. Lil Guai mimicked the Silver Wolf and Saint Child Zither Melody's cries. However, it finally realized that it couldn't scare anyone. Instantly, it could not help but be enraged. It swung its claws, but nothing came out. Ever since it entered the East Continent from the eastern wilderness, everything on its body had returned to zero. Its cultivation had not recovered at all, so it could only sulk. However, this was more than enough for Uncle Hu and the others. After the 3 men and 1 beast showed off in front of them, they taught them a lesson in unison. Not a single one of them was left behind. Uncle Hu and the others wanted to curse out loud. With a younger brother like this, a senior brother like this, and an elder brother like this, did they think they were amazing? However, the younger brother, senior brother, and elder brother of the 3 men and 1 beast were really amazing. Uncle Hu and the others immediately lost their temper. As for the 7 or 8 youths, they looked at Chu Fei and the others enviously. They were extremely shocked. So they are the brothers of Eastern Wilderness 002. Brother Yang, can you give me some face now? Chu Fei suddenly said to Brother Yang with a smile, extremely proud of himself. Brother Yang was annoyed and said in a muffled voice, Brother Chu, you bastard. I suddenly realize that I hate your so-called younger brother to the bone. My younger brother especially likes it when people hate him like this. Chu Fei became even more pleased with himself. He smiled and said, in the end, he will say to you, bite me to death if you can. Brother Yang was extremely irritated. He really wanted to bite Chu Fei to death immediately. Can't you give me a way out? I haven't seen you for more than a year, and you're already so ruthless. Brother Yang's eyes were already spitting fire as he glared at Chu Fei. Ha! Chu Fei strode over and patted Brother Yang's shoulder. He laughed and said, Brother Yang, why are you so angry? Chu Fei's younger brother is your younger brother. Isn't that Brother Li and Brother Ye's younger brother? Brother Yang and the others were stunned for a moment. Then, they suddenly smiled brightly. What he said made sense. Ha! Brother Yang's anger was immediately appeased. He laughed loudly at Chu Fei and said, Ah Fei, after seeing you, I finally heard you say something sensible. Let's go and drink. Tonight, we won't go back until we're drunk. Chapter 12:21. After Chu Yang slipped back, at noon the next day, he used the celestial demon walking skill to hide his eastern wilderness aura and changed his appearance. He came out casually and wandered around the sky courtyard. No one knew him, so he found someone to brag about. Although the parrot tried its best to go out, it could only stay in the space ring. Chu Yang took advantage of the impact of what he had done previously. He successfully learned of Shangguanlan's whereabouts from the bragging. Then, he beat up the person who bragged to him. After doing all the vulgar things, he went to find Shangguanlan. There were a few tired clouds floating in the sky. Under their gaze, Chu Yang approached the courtyard where Shangguanlan was. It was a lonely path, and the red window was half open. The more he went in, the quieter it became. The sun was high in the sky, and the sunlight shone on his face, making the corners of his eyes shine. Suddenly, Chu Yang raised the corner of his mouth and said with a smirk, I suddenly came here. I don't know if she will be scared. Chu Yang sneaked into the courtyard skillfully. The courtyard was very elegant and the corridors, buildings, and rooms were all exquisite. The spring breeze supported the willows, and the beauty of the world was smiling. There was a scenery every 5 steps, and a pavilion every 10 steps. The courtyard was very large, and it felt like a paradise. Suddenly there was a drizzle. The drizzle was like silk, and the silk was like silk, which suddenly made the place like a paradise on earth. In the center there was a pool. At this moment, a bright red sparrow was flying on the surface of the water and swimming in the water. It was having fun. Little bitch, this is your fiancé, a bird I caught when I was a child. Although Chu Yang said so to the parrot, he was not sure if this red bird was the one he caught when he was a child. The parrot had come out of the space. It stood on Chu Yang's shoulder and curled its lips. I hate red birds, but I like to tease them. Ah! It habitually made a strange laugh, which was immediately noticed by the red bird. Who? The red bird was furious and popped its head out of the water. That shameless man is peeping at me. Me! Chu Yang. He now had some doubts about Shangguanlan. She might not be a pretty girl from a humble family, but the kind that should be popular. Otherwise, how could she have raised such a lousy bird? It was just like a parrot. Chu Yang regained his original appearance. His original appearance shone brightly. So it's you, you little sheep, you shameless person. When the red bird made a sound, Chu Yang knew that it was the bird from when he was young. He smiled and said, Little Red, long time no see. Long time no see my ass. Little Red immediately spat, We just met yesterday, long time no see. There is more. Little Red suddenly covered its chest with its wings and shouted, Little sheep, you peeked at me bathing. You have to take responsibility, or I won't live anymore. Chu Yang was sweating profusely. Lil Red had become so shameless. Even if it was bathing just now, it was still wearing clothes. It was too much to take responsibility. As soon as it came, Lil Red gave him a surprise, and got off to a good start. Little bitch, did you hear that? You peeked at me bathing. You have to take responsibility. Chu Yang pondered for a while, and felt that Little Red might have taken a fancy to the parrot. He immediately matched it. Even if it was not, he could divert the fire. Damn the parrot, not dead Chu Yang. Ah! Chapter 12:22. The parrot overreacted and jumped 3 feet into the air. I hate red birds. Little Red's reaction was even more intense, and a column of water rose from the water. I hate parrots, especially shameless parrots, parrots that imitate others. I was peeking, I admit that I was peeking, but you were wearing clothes, and I was just looking at a bird in the water. There's no need to take responsibility. The parrot opened its mouth and shot out like a machine gun. If you want to take responsibility, then I have to see a hairless bird. If you have the ability, then pluck all your feathers. Little Red's eyes were spitting fire. Pfft! You parrot want to take responsibility for me? You don't have any literary talent, and you don't have any martial arts skills. Keep dreaming. A toad bird wants to eat swan meat. Who are you calling a toad? You're the female toad. The parrot and Little Red first argued, then fought. The two birds fought in midair, and the sound of banging rang out incessantly, and all kinds of light exploded from time to time. The light was very dazzling, and in the void of daytime, it was like fireworks. Tortoise versus mung bean, enemies will meet. Parrot and Little Red, I have high hopes for you. I'm waiting to drink your wedding wine. With 2 plops, Chu Yang opened his mouth, and the parrot and Little Red fell together as if they had been shot down. Then, they were entangled together, and stared at Chu Yang angrily. Don't look at me like that. Chu Yang laughed. You two have too much chemistry. You might not realize it now, but you will eventually realize how deeply you love each other. You are a match made in heaven. Little sheep, you fart so smelly. Chu Heng, you fart so smelly. Chu Yang shrugged, spread his hands and said to the two birds, you use the same words. What else is there to say? Looking at you two hugging each other, a single dog like me really can't stand your stimulation. The parrot and Little Red immediately realized that they were in a situation. Just now they were fighting together, and when they fell, they were entangled together. Whoosh whoosh. The two birds also separated as fast as they could. They both trembled as if goosebumps had appeared all over their bodies. At the same time, each of them used their wings to beat around their bodies, trying to get rid of all the dirt. Lil Red was at a disadvantage, and the parrot even pulled out many of its feathers. Shameless parrot, you imitator, get out of here. If you're so popular, you'll never be able to get married. Little Red was so angry that it almost fainted. It seemed that it was completely unable to deal with the parrot, because it found that it could not be as shameless as the parrot, so it directly attacked it. The two birds started fighting again. Sigh, we are birds of the same forest. Why are you in such a rush to kill each other? Chu Yang's words almost made the two birds fall down again. They felt as if mud had fallen into their pants, and they couldn't wash it clean no matter how hard they tried. After saying that, Chu Yang stepped forward. Just as he was about to go deeper, he suddenly saw two beautiful figures. He was stunned. What he saw was not two people, but a painting, two beauties in the painting. A dark green pleated skirt danced in the wind, intoxicated by the beautiful scenery in the courtyard. 3,000 strands of black hair fluttered in the air like silk. She was wearing a veil, but her bright eyes fell into Chu Yang's eyes. They were overflowing with amorous feelings. Through the thin veil, he could vaguely see her light red lips and snow-white skin that seemed like it could be broken with a flick of his finger. How could he look at people like that? Facing Chu Yang's gaze, Shangguan Lan could still look him in the eye at first, but she suddenly lowered her head shyly. Lecher! Shangguan Mei glared at Chu Yang. Chapter 12:23. Shangguan Mei had seen many geniuses and evildoers, but she had never seen someone like Chu Yang. After being reprimanded, he was still calm and collected, and he continued to flirt with her. Those geniuses and evildoers, which one of them did not blush after being reprimanded by her? But now it was her miss who was blushing. Little Lon, I haven't seen you for so many years. How have you been these years? This was the first time Chu Yang spoke without hesitation. I'm doing very well. Shangguan Lan seemed to be shy and excited, and she was unable to restrain her emotions. For so many years, the little boy who had always comforted her when she was a child was finally standing in front of her at this moment. But suddenly thousands of words disappeared, and she did not know what to say. In the end it became this sentence, Brother Yang, how about you? Look at how handsome I am. You should know. Chu Yang opened his arms, showing himself in front of Shangguan Lan, and even turned around. From Shangguan Lan's tone, he did not feel that kind of isolation and strangeness, and he was very happy. Shangguan Mei saw that Chu Yang was so narcissistic and friendly, and saw that her miss was amused, and she could not help but hold her forehead. If it was someone else, like Chu Yang, they would probably be lying down and carried out. Chu Yang and Shangguan Lan talked for a while, and their tone became more relaxed. The two were more easygoing with each other, as if they had known each other for many years. Suddenly Chu Yang laughed and said, Lan Lan, I haven't seen you for so many years. Don't you want me to see what you look like now? Take off your veil and let your brother goat see how beautiful you have become after all these years. Shangguan Lan's face suddenly turned red, but after being shy for a while, she finally took off her veil. A woman would dress up for her lover. She wore a veil, among other reasons, but the main reason was Chu Yang. When she took off her veil, Chu Yang was directly stunned, frozen in place. At this moment, the world seemed to be stagnant, and the nearby beautiful scenery, people and things were all silent. The parrot was also completely stunned. She was too beautiful. If the perfect score was 100, it could give Shangguanlan 120 points. She was so beautiful that it was somewhat unreal. At this time, even Little Red and Shangguanmei, who were often around Shangguanlan, were stunned. Shangguanlan today seemed to be more beautiful than usual, and there was a kind of fascinating and intoxicating charm on her. She was wearing a long dress that outlined her perfect curve. It was too perfect. She was wearing light makeup. Her eyelashes were very long, and her big eyes were misty and intoxicating. Her lips were bright red, and her face was fair and translucent. At first glance, it was difficult to describe her appearance. He only felt that all words were empty, and the person in front of him was so beautiful that it was almost illusory. Chu Yang was completely amazed. Her hair was as lustrous as silk. Her figure was perfect, very tall. Her neck was exposed, white and translucent. Her towering height, moving curves and curves. The dress was very thin at the waist, and it was very fitting, highlighting her amazingly slender waist. She was graceful and moving. She had a pair of straight and slender legs, and her ankles were as white and delicate as ivory, with a little luster. Just looking at her ankles, Chu Yang seemed to have seen a pair of beautiful jade feet, as delicate as mutton fat jade. When Chu Yang recalled this day in the future, he had to admit that at this moment, he lost his soul and his eyes were fixed. Shangguanlan's face was extremely beautiful, like a dream, and there was absolutely no flaw. She had long eyelashes, smart and moving eyes, a straight nose, sexy lips, and the moist luster on them were extremely dazzling. Chapter 12:24. Half-closed small window, fragrant tea, picturesque ink, such a good fate. Chu Yang was dazed for a while, and after Shangguanlan was shy for a while, the two recovered. After talking for a while, they drank tea in the elegant room. As soon as Chu Yang took a sip of tea, he screamed. After a period of contact, Shangguanlan had gradually adapted to Chu Yang's style of doing things. To be exact, it was Chu Yang's shamelessness. She couldn't help but roll her eyes and said in her heart, "Who wants to marry you? Ah, my soul has been taken away again." Chu Yang was exaggerating, but there was also great truth in it. Shangguanlan's eye roll also had an indescribable charm. He said with incomparable passion, "Why can her every frown, smile, and move go straight into my heart, and even attract my every inch of sight and my talent? The fragrance of tea fills the room, but how can the fragrance of tea smell like human fragrance? Just seeing that woman roll her eyes is enough to kill me." Shangguanlan rolled her eyes again. She felt very magical. Although she and Chu Yang were very close when they were young, after not seeing each other for so many years, in such a short period of time, they seemed to have returned to the past, as if Chu Yang had never left her side. It could almost be said that there was not much unfamiliarity between the two now. Maybe it's because of Brother Goat's shamelessness, sticking to me as soon as I came up, Shangguanlan said in her heart, and blamed everything on Chu Yang. She had to admit that Chu Yang's unorthodox and casual behavior had imperceptibly erased the sense of strangeness between the two. "Little Bitch and Little Red, you are a pair of enemies. Why don't you fight at this critical time? I need you to liven things up now." Shangguanlan couldn't help laughing when she heard this. She found it funny when the parrot and Little Red were fighting before. "Little Bitch, Little Red, look, it's hard to get a beautiful woman's smile again. You still need to work hard. I'm optimistic about you too." Chu Yang continued to tease the two birds. "The Supreme Master, who says there is light, there is light. For the Master, this divine bird can go through mountains of swords and seas of fire, but this is the only thing I can't do. I'm allergic to red." The parrot didn't forget to humiliate Little Red all the time. Little Red was furious. "I'm allergic to shamelessness." Shangguanlan smiled again, and so did Chu Yang. "You two are enemies. You two can continue." "Little sheep, Chu Hang. The two birds couldn't stand him any longer. They attacked at the same time, but they were all suppressed by Chu Yang. Then, he trapped the two of them together, eye to eye, mouth to mouth, and wing to wing. He even lectured them, "You're rebelling. You two little enemies, you haven't even lived in the same nest, but you're actually joining forces to clamor. If you really live together in the future, won't you be able to climb the roof and tear down the tiles?" Shangguan Mei wanted to rescue Little Red. Although she was a bird, after all, men and women were not allowed to touch each other. However, Chu Yang glared at her. "Little girl, do you want to rebel too? Kaka." Shangguan Mei gritted her teeth and glared at Chu Yang with her beautiful eyes. She couldn't wait to eat Chu Yang alive. Shangguan Lan was completely speechless with Chu Yang. He couldn't be serious for a while. Now, he even teased Mei. "Brother Goat, I have something to tell you." Chu Yang quickly slipped away. Shangguan Mei's realm was now much higher than his, at least the Nirvana realm. "Little Lan, say it. Your brother Goat is listening attentively." That kind of evil smile made Shangguan Lan instantly have goosebumps. Looking at Chu Yang walking towards her, she felt as if a big bad wolf was walking towards her. Chapter 12:25. She wanted to hit him, but she held it in. Brother Yang, Lu Yunpeng, whom you humiliated yesterday, is the descendant of a demon saint. He has the demon saint's secret techniques and murderous weapons. You have to be careful. Chu Yang's heart sank. Shangguan Lan mentioned Lu Yunpeng to him. Obviously, this Lu Yunpeng was extraordinary. However, he smiled. It's not a big deal. He still owes me 1,000 spirit veins. Haha. Shangguan Lan suddenly laughed. Yesterday, Lu Yunpeng was probably angered to death by Chu Yang. He helped her vent her anger. Lu Yunpeng kept pestering her, which annoyed her to no end. Also, Brother Yang, you have to be careful of Xia Wanjin. She continued, Xia Wanjin is not only rich, but he's also not simple. I haven't seen him fight yet. He's mysterious and unfathomable. I'll kill him with money next time. Chu Yang made Shangguan Lan laugh again. Time flew. Time passed very quickly. Chu Yang ate at Shangguan Lan's place and joked around for a while before leaving. At this time, the sky had already darkened. It's not easy to meet in a sea of billions of people and have the same tacit understanding. You know my stubbornness, I know your temper. Two hearts are close. Chu Yang hummed a song. He was extremely happy. He was not completely unfamiliar with Shangguan Lan, and she completely satisfied all his expectations. This is Grandpa Chu, my fiancé. Thinking of this, he smiled crookedly. Swoosh. At this time, a burst of fragrant wind floated in the air. A graceful figure suddenly appeared from the side, and blocked Chu Yang's path. At the same time, the girl's delicate fragrance poured into his nose. It was an extremely beautiful woman. She was only slightly inferior to Shangguan Lan. The woman wore pink clothes. Her appearance was extremely dignified, but she seemed incomparably seductive. Her fine black hair draped over her shoulders and was only tied up with a pink hairband. Her skin revealed a faint pink color. Her brows were like smoke, fresh and elegant. Her almond-shaped eyes flowed with light, and her lips were like cherry blossoms. Her appearance could be said to be devastatingly beautiful, but Chu Yang was not stunned. Suddenly, his heartstrings tightened and he became vigilant. Your landland's fiancé. This woman spoke. Her voice was like an oriole's, numbing the bones. Her eyes moved, captivating the soul, extremely charming. As she spoke, she sized up Chu Yang from head to toe, and then commented, You do have a good appearance, but you don't have any background. You're as weak as an ant. I can pinch you to death right now. Hashtag yen%%. Chu Yang was originally in a wonderful mood, but now he felt as if this woman had poured a bucket of dung on his head. However, the woman in front of him was indeed very strong, ridiculously strong. The moment the woman said that she could pinch him to death with a raise of her hand, the aura she released made his heart palpitate. She was at least in the life and death realm. Do you know how to write the word polite? Do you know how to make people understand their intentions well? Chu Yang could not hold back the anger in his heart. He directly responded with vicious words, big-chested and brainless. Is that how a woman like you is described? At this time, the parrot was happy in its heart. Waha, this divine bird has been sullen for a day. This time, it's Chu Hang's turn to suffer retribution. The woman was directly angered by Chu Yang. She was angered by the ant in her eyes. She originally thought that such an ant would not make her angry at all, but it was broken in an instant. Chu Yang's heart immediately felt a lot better. He said indifferently, "Big-chested, tell me where you're from, and then explain your intentions clearly." Chapter 12:26. Central Continent's Nangong Fian. Nangong Fian's eyes could kill. The clouds are all low, the shadows are blurry, condensing in the middle. Not smoke nor fog when the goddess is coming. Nangong Fian was shocked. Are you talking about her name? She had to admit that Chu Yang was talented. Only, however, with your personality, your parents shouldn't be so cultured. The name they gave you definitely isn't so meaningful. I am thinking too much. Nangong Fian really wanted to kill someone. He even scolded her parents. However, her parents probably didn't have such standards. Do you know Central Continent? When she spoke again, her voice wasn't numbing anymore, it was ice cold, causing the parrot to shiver. Central Continent? Chu Yang had heard of it before, but he didn't know the specifics. Nangong Fian understood and mocked. You can say that, like how East Continent discriminates against the Eastern Wilderness, East Continent is just a corner in Central Continent. Do you understand what I am saying? Of course, Chu Yang understood. How could he not? The other party was so arrogant, if he didn't understand, he would be a fool. A toad shouldn't think about eating swan meat, he wasn't worthy. He really didn't know Shangguanlan's true identity. Until now, he only knew that she was chased by someone and escaped into the eastern wilderness. Now, it seemed like Shangguanlan's identity was shocking. Instantly, Chu Yang felt annoyed. In East Continent, he had a fiancée but didn't dare to admit it. He didn't dare to say it. A man who couldn't protect his own woman was already a coward. Now, this damn woman actually provoked him. Is the East Continent that great? One day, I will trample the Central Continent under my feet. At that time, I will make you, this damned woman, serve me a chamber pot at night. After venting his anger for a while, he said coldly, Are you done? Scoff. Nangong Fian laughed coldly. Is that sentence not enough? Son of a bitch. Why does yours truly always have to deal with such things? Chu Yang was furious in his heart, but he didn't show it. He only disdainfully said, Oh, is the Central Continent that great? After speaking, he also sneered and said to Nangong Fian, My one sentence should be enough, right? Nangong Fian's beautiful face smiled in disdain, saying such words shows how stupid you are. Do you think it's enough to deal with trash like Lu Yunpeng and Xiaowan Jin? It's just that these two trash can also crush you to death. Chu Yang's pupils constricted slightly. He was truly infuriated, but he didn't want the other party to see his anger. He became even more indifferent and calm. Big-chested, if you want to express your disdain for me, I don't have any objections. However, I would like to ask you to organize your words and express your greatest disdain. After a pause, he asked seriously, Can I? Although it might be a little difficult for an illiterate like you? Not only did she have big breasts, she was also illiterate. Ka. Nangong Fian gritted her teeth. She was a little flustered and exasperated. She realized that in terms of disdain, she was indeed much worse than this wild dog. People have different grades. You are the most lowly type of person, is that enough? After speaking, Nangong Fian felt that her anger had been vented. However, when she saw the parrot's gaze, she couldn't help but get angry again. Birds also have different grades. You are the most lowly bird. Damn big breasts, what you said is laughable. Can't a bird even look at you? The parrot directly activated the 3-character scripture in its heart. Big-chested, you really make me unhappy. Chu Yang's voice suddenly turned cold. One day, when you give me a chamber pot at night, I will ask you again, what grade am I? Chapter 12:27. That sentence contained too much information. Chu Yang felt a chill down his spine as he broke out in cold sweat. With a xiao, he fled at his fastest speed, disappearing without a trace. Is there something wrong with that sentence? Nangong Fian sensed that something was wrong, but he couldn't understand it. At that moment, a voice rang out. There is something wrong, there is a huge problem. Shangguan Lan and Shangguan Mei, as well as Little Red, appeared in front of Nangong Fian. Little Red was on Shangguan Mei's shoulder and continued, You better not think about it, otherwise you will be angered to death. However, as soon as it finished speaking, Nangong Fian understood and screamed like a madman, cutting through the night sky. Chu Yang, who was far away, shivered and fled even more frantically. His speed didn't decrease in the slightest. Chu Yang, you bastard, I will definitely kill you. Chu Yang heard the voice and was depressed. What does this have to do with me? I didn't say it. After a pause, he continued. Moreover, Little Scum's bickering level isn't something your big breasts can compare to. Hee, big breasts, you are just asking for trouble. Master, you are wise and mighty. The parrot broke out in cold sweat. Luckily, Chu Yang knew a lot and fled quickly, otherwise, in front of that woman, his bones would be broken. Nangong Fian was still screaming crazily, as if he had eaten something dirty, almost going crazy. You deserve it. Shangguan Lan spat out such a word. She was really unhappy with Nangong Fian's actions. Shangguan Lan, are you still human? I did it for you. Nangong Fian screamed. Shangguan Lan rolled her eyes. It is for you, right? Brother Yang said that the clouds are all low, the shadows are blurry, looking at the center. Fian Feiwu, when the goddess is coming, he has already called you a goddess. What else are you dissatisfied with? What does that have to do with your big brother Yang? This name was given to this lady by your uncle Nangong, who dotes on you. Nangong Fian was about to go crazy from anger. Her best friend was actually adding insult to injury. Are you sure? Nangong Fian suddenly choked. How could she not know what her father was like? Shangguan Lan was also very clear about it. Nangong Fian's father was good at everything except for the fact that he hated studying. He hated it so much that making him read was worse than killing him. Do you know why I didn't stop you? Shangguan Lan spoke again. It's to teach you a lesson. Bickering with Brother Yang is more infuriating and humiliating. You've found the wrong person. Didn't you see yesterday that Lu Yunpeng was almost angered to death and humiliated to death by him? Shangguan Lan, are you saying that I have big breasts and no brains? I'm going to fight it out with you. Nangong Fian was very sensitive about having no brains. The moment she heard Shangguan Lan's words, she immediately flipped out and pounced towards Shangguan Lan. Fei, don't come over. I can't compare with you, or I'll feel inferior. After Shangguan Lan said that, she suddenly laughed. She was very close with Nangong Fian, but she definitely wouldn't say such words in the past. Now, she actually said it. The reason, she didn't need to think about it, Chu Yang. Chu Yang was shameless and humiliated her in public. It affected her and made her shameless. No, it made her stronger. Shangguan Lan, you Nangong Fian was in disbelief as she looked at Shangguan Lan in shock. Shangguan Mei was also stunned. If it was Shangguan Lan in the past, she definitely wouldn't say such words. In addition, she also found that ever since Chu Yang appeared, her miss had become much more lively than before. Fei, that's a strength, not a weakness. At this moment, Shangguan Lan seemed to know why Chu Yang liked to talk nonsense. Especially when she saw how Nangong Fian was gritting her teeth, she understood even more clearly. She couldn't help but feel happy. Shangguan Lan, I think you're really possessed. Today, I'm going to kill the demon. Chapter 12:28. Laughing at the sky as I walked out, I accidentally twisted my waist. I used my blood to splash Xianyuan. He used his blade to stab me. I am the Zhongshan wolf. I am the Dongbei tiger. Chu Yang returned to the space-time tunnel seal. He thought about many things in his mind, connecting all sorts of things. His mood suddenly became irritated. The formless pressure made him feel like he was having asthma, unable to breathe. The East state had already made him feel a little overwhelmed, and now there was the Central state. East continent was in Central continent, just like the Eastern wilderness was in East continent. Just now, it seemed like he had beaten Nangong Fian half to death, but he was very clear about his own feelings. Nangong Fian's words hurt Chu Yang. Him and Shangguan Lan were like toads wanting to eat swan meat, because the difference in status between the two was too big. It was like they were in two different worlds. How could he close the gap? There was no difference in status and love. Chu Yang did not know if this was the truth or bullshit, but there was one thing he knew: the difference was too big. To walk together was very difficult, very difficult. This was the truth, an undeniable truth. At the same time, Chu Yang also thought that if he wanted to overturn East continent, the enemy he would face would not be as simple as East continent. Central continent and East continent had countless connections. In the end, Central continent would definitely be a hurdle that he could not avoid. Central continent, he would have to face it eventually. How could he not feel pressure? This was not important. What was important was that he hated Nangong Fian's attitude, that tone, that face. Was Central continent that amazing? What kind of bullshit ranking system is this? However, although he did not admit all these, but the difference in status was so clear in his previous life, much less in this world. East wind does not follow Zhoulang. I will lock my big breasts in spring. Thinking back to the past, looking at the present, I will not let go. Harem of 3,000 beauties, even iron rods will be ground into needles. How can I bend my back and have big breasts? I will not be happy. What kind of mess is this? Cui Xinho and the other two. The parrot was very happy when it heard this. It cheered loudly. Master is talented, truly talented, talented and rich. Master, please continue. I'm all ears. Hee, it liked to see Pit Chu's unhappy expression. How rare. In this world, there were not many people who could make Chu Hang suffer. Big chest, you have to do your best. The more the parrot thought about it, the happier it was. It was already cheering for Nangong Fian in its heart. What the hell is going on in the eastern wilderness? Why is it like this when we go out and come back? The eastern wilderness. Did something happen to him? I think he's about to spout nonsense. There's clearly something wrong with the eastern wilderness. I've never seen him like this before. Cui Xinho and the others were a bit worried. They wanted to understand the situation from the parrot. Sima Jian was actually curious as well. Ever since Chu Yang returned, he could faintly feel that Chu Yang had a huge emotional fluctuation, and his mentality seemed to have undergone a huge change. It was as if something had already sprouted in his heart. Waha, are you saying that Chu Hang is about to go crazy? After the parrot heard this, he laughed so hard that tears almost flowed out of his eyes. In this world, even if everyone went crazy, he didn't believe that Pit Chu would go crazy. Pit Chu was just in a bad mood right now. Chapter 12:29. The parrot had thought it was talented, but after following Chu Hang around, it felt like an idiot. Cui Xinho and the others glared at the parrot as if they were barbecuing it. Ha ha! The parrot laughed so hard that it almost had a cramp. Then it said, You three don't need to worry about nothing. You don't need to think about who Pit Chu is. You shouldn't be worried about him, but about the people who offended him. What the hell is going on, you cheater? The parrot suddenly laughed evilly. 1 for 5. How about that? Lu Yumping's odds were 1 to 100 for the spirit vein, and Xia Wanjin's odds were 1 to 1,000. The damned parrot had gotten 3,300 spirit veins from the three of them, and now it was trying to exploit them. It was intolerable. Cheater, we'll tell the Eastern Wilderness that the spirit veins belong to us. You're just helping us bet. Believe it or not, you won't even get a single spirit vein. You won't even get a single hair, you damn cheater. The parrot quivered. Others couldn't do such a thing, but Chu Hang could. It glared at them and pointed at them with its wings. You've got a rotten conscience. Cheater, cut the crap. Are you going to talk or not? The parrot looked at them and said disdainfully, "Tch, what's there to talk about? Didn't you hear Chu Hang shouting about big breasts? Now he's having a headache about whether he wants big breasts, big buttocks, or both. Even an iron rod has to be ground into a needle. That's why Chu Hang has so much to worry about." The three of them didn't have a temper with the cheater. Happy worries? Whoosh. Chu Yang was really upset when he heard the parrot's words. It just so happened that he didn't have a place to vent his anger. So, he immediately flew over, grabbed the parrot, and angrily said, "I'm really happy. Little bastard, I'll also make you happy." "Spare me, master." It was useless. Chu Yang didn't care about it at all. He directly plucked its fur. "Ah, Chu Hang, you can't be like this. Is it a crime to snicker? If you have the ability, go and sleep with big breasts." The parrot screeched again and again, but its mouth refused to accept this. "Hee hee, that's a really good idea, so I'll reward you." Chu Yang sneered. He moved even faster. After a while, he had plucked all the feathers off the parrot's body. Then, he hung it up to dry. When it was over, he let out a sigh of relief. "Finally, I feel much better. Next time, you better do your best. Bastard Chu Hang." The parrot cursed loudly, but Chu Yang glared at it and it immediately shut up. Otherwise, its wings would be cut off and roasted again. Serves him right. Cui Xinho and the others were very pleased, and then said to the parrot, "Bullshit bird, tell us the truth, otherwise we'll let you hang out to dry." The parrot was the first to make a statement. "This divine bird didn't lose to you three things. This divine bird lost to Chu Hang." Then, it said enviously, "A big breasts from Zhongzhou obviously took a fancy to Chu Hang, but she said that Chu Hang was a toad who wanted to eat swan meat. Chu Hang's self-esteem was trampled, so he was flustered and exasperated." "Bullshit bird, then you'll keep hanging." Cui Xinho and the others turned and left. The parrot squawked and had to compromise. When the three of them heard this, they were slightly taken aback and sighed repeatedly. "So there's pressure in the Eastern Wilderness. How can there not be pressure? After all, the Eastern Wilderness is just one person. He has to face the entire Eastern Wilderness alone." "Let him vent," Li Tianlan said. Chapter 1230. In the past, Sima Jian and the others had experienced all of this. How could they not know? However, Chu Yang's progress was many times faster than theirs. Now, he could feel the pressure from the central region. The door for humans is locked, but the hole for dogs is wide open. A voice is shouting, "Crawl out, I'll give you freedom." I long for freedom, but I know very well that a human's body cannot crawl out of a dog's hole. After Chu Yang screamed for a while, he sat down cross-legged and began to calm his mind. Then, he began to think carefully. Soon after, his gaze became even calmer, but it was still extremely frightening. Rice must be eaten one bite at a time. Let's not think about the East Continent or the Central region for now. Let's take down the Sky Academy first. He broke down the big goal into small goals. The outer court assessment, the inner court assessment, the elite disciples, the holy disciples, the Sky Academy, the 6 great academies, and finally the East Continent and the Central region. Once he set his goal, his heart suddenly became clear. It didn't seem that difficult. Then, he began to cultivate. The outer court assessment would begin in a month. He had already understood it from Shangguanlan. Now what he needed to do was to increase his strength to deal with Xiao Chang'e, Xiong Longxiang, and Lu Yunpeng. He wasn't afraid of anyone, but he couldn't ignore the strength of these people. Not only were they extremely talented, but their realms were all higher than his. Chu Yang sat cross-legged for 7 days. He was deducing his 7 spirits and polishing his 8 realms of the spirit stage. After 7 days, his aura became even more restrained. It was like a divine sword that was returned to its sheath after testing it. His cultivation did not increase, and he was still at the 8th level of the spirit stage. However, his strength had increased from the original 8,200 dragon powers to 9,000 dragon powers. An increase of 800 dragon powers caused the parrot and the others to be dumbfounded. This was an increase of 100 dragon powers in a single day. It was too frightening. There was no wind, rain, or thunder at the seal all year round, and the devil aura surged all year round. But on the 8th day, Chu Yang tried to test the devil aura here, the remnant essence of the extraterrestrial demons, and the power of heaven and earth of the other world of gods. As soon as he tried, Chu Yang's entire body lit up. He had obtained the 7 spirits of the 2 supreme figures in the 7 demonic realm, and one of them suddenly changed. The supreme demon ancestor's opponent. His 7 spirits' origin's energy resonated with the world's energy of the god's world. Chu Yang's perception, and his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the other supreme figure is from the world of the gods? The supreme demon ancestor's battle was actually a battle between the heavenly world and the heavenly world of the heavenly world. This conjecture was very shocking. However, when the essence of the demons from beyond the heavens and the power of heaven and earth from the world of gods entered Chu Yang's body, it was as if a child had returned to his mother's embrace. All of these invisibly proved his conjecture. I'm afraid that's the case. Chu Yang's expression turned grave, but he immediately became excited. Perhaps I can use this opportunity to come into contact with the world's laws of the God's world. Different worlds would naturally have different laws of the world. For example, different races would have different customs and habits, different countries would have different systems, and the methods and thoughts to solve problems would be completely different. Therefore, he could use them to improve himself. Haha, so what if it's the central region? You can only eat behind Grandpa Chu. Chu Yang was slightly excited. If he could do it, it would be like studying abroad. What would the central region count for? Although he was a child from a poor family and had never entered the city, he was ridiculed by the children in the city for not having seen the world. But now that he was going abroad, those children in the city were nothing. How could they be compared to him? This thought was vulgar, but it couldn't stop him from laughing out loud. At this moment, the wind at the seal became even more violent. Chu Yang devoured the essence of the outer demons and the world's energy of the God's world. Chapter 12:31. However, in the blink of an eye, the demonic chi around the seal was completely swept away. Heaven and earth became clear again, there was nothing to hide anymore. This, Cui Xinho and the other 2 were shocked, and when they realized the reason, they were dumbfounded. The 3 of them had been cultivating here for a long time, so they understood the demonic chi of the demons from beyond the sky very well. Swallowing demonic chi into one's body was like swallowing a sword into one's body. It was very dangerous, and one mistake could lead to death. Therefore, they were always on edge, taking great risks to cultivate. That was why they were able to improve so much in such a short time. The eastern wilderness is the eastern wilderness. If I compare myself to him, my brain must have been crushed by a door. The three of them laughed bitterly and sighed in amazement. They had to admit that Chu Yang was able to humiliate the eastern continent. There was a reason behind it. This scammer Chu simply exists to deal a blow to this divine bird. The parrot was so angry that it stomped its feet and cursed. This divine bird just threw these three into a corner and cursed them until they couldn't raise their heads for 7 days. I didn't expect retribution to come so quickly. Why is this divine bird so pitiful? My complacency only lasted 7 days. It had also absorbed the 7 soul essence of the supreme existence of the God's world, but it was not obvious. However, absorbing the demonic chi here was as easy as eating or drinking. It couldn't be any easier, and even Sima Jian was shocked. Because of this, it had been arrogant for a few days, and provoked Cui Xinhou and the others. Therefore, it was indescribable. But now it was beaten to the point where it had no temper. Chu Hang was simply cutting off all its arrogance. Sima Jian's expression changed, his eyes widened and he lost his voice. What is going on? The God's world should be rejecting him, but how can he absorb the demonic chi so casually? Just like how the heavenly spirit world repelled the other god realms, the other god realms also repelled the heavenly spirit world. When they barged into each other's territory, it was as if they were enemies. But the strange thing was, all the enemies seemed to have turned traitor and submitted to Chu Yang. Moreover, this enemy was not an ordinary enemy, nor was it a human, but the power of another world. What kind of existence was it? Why would it submit to Chu Yang? At this moment, it was as if the God's world had submitted to Chu Yang. Was this a joke? How was this possible? Sima Jian's of a eyes eye. What scared him even more, it seemed as if the eyes the eye and God's world's eye and eyes eye. Of the eye of the world wide world. Even though Sima Jian had experienced countless things and his nerves were very tough, he couldn't help but scream at this time. If it was someone else, they would have been scared to death, or would have thought that Chu Yang was an otherworldly demon and beaten to death. However, he clearly knew that it was impossible for Chu Yang to be an otherworldly demon. When the parrot, Cui Xinhou, and the other two heard the voice, they saw Sima Jian, who was usually serious in speech and manner, and always had a cold expression on his face, lose his composure. They were speechless, but at the same time, felt that it was incomparably strange. Stop it now. Suddenly, Sima Jian was horrified to find that the power of the God's world to stop the space-time tunnel from being completely sealed was surging out and pouring into Chu Yang's body. With that, there would be no more obstacles. The space-time tunnel would be completely sealed, completely blocked, and the entire space-time tunnel would be severed. It was a good thing for the East Continent but a bad thing for Sima Jian. Without this, he would die, not to mention protecting Chu Yang and the others. How could the Sky Academy let him go? Chapter 1232. At this moment, Chu Yang's 7 spirits were like the tiger talisman. With the tiger talisman in his hand, he was like the commander of the realm of the gods. The war drums beat, the flags flew, and with a wave of his hand, thousands of soldiers charged forward. Immediately, the sound of killing shook the heavens, heads rolled, and blood flowed like a river, dyeing the world red. Victory or defeat seemed to be in his hands. The lives, honor and disgrace of millions of people were also in his hands. Chu Yang felt a kind of contentment in his heart. When he heard Sima Jian's voice, he opened his eyes and smiled evilly. "Senior, I'm kindly reminding you that you've lost your composure. You've lost your image of an expert, and your dignity has been greatly damaged. It's even a little laughable. This is my fault. #yenyen %% #yen. Sima Jian couldn't help but curse in his heart. If it weren't for this bastard doing these frightening things, I wouldn't have lost my composure and become a laughingstock. He wanted to eat Chu Yang alive. Why aren't you stopping? Heh heh. Chu Yang laughed. Senior, as a man, you have to keep a straight face even if a sword is on your neck. Senior, you have to stay calm. Sima Jian was teased by Chu Yang until he calmed down. Do you know what you're doing? Wah-ha! Chu Yang laughed weirdly. He opened his arms as wide as he could. It was as if his shoulders were about to be dislocated. Then, he said passionately, Elder, I want to do it again before I start cultivating. I want to set off a huge firecracker. I want to tell the East Continent, the Middle Continent, and the entire Heavenly Soul world why the fireworks are so brilliant. Also, he rubbed his chin and muttered, I am me, and I am a different kind of fireworks. This needs to be publicized. Sima Jian originally thought that he could accept Chu Yang's sloppiness and lack of seriousness. But at this time, he discovered that he was wrong, extremely wrong. This kind of Chu Yang was not only repulsive but also hateful. You've already given me a big firecracker, and I'll soon know why the fireworks are so bright. Sima Jian pointed at the seal and said, If you take away all of the power of the outer space demons to resist the seal, the space-time tunnel will be completely sealed. At that time, your head will be hanging on the flagpole the next day. Hee, Senior, do I look like someone who isn't afraid of death? Chu Yang's smile became even more sinister and despicable. Then, he said, If I say that I want to give them a big firecracker, then I will definitely give them a big firecracker. Can't Central Province do that? Sima Jian was so angry that his face turned black. Your intentions, your plan? Senior, please believe me. Chu Yang didn't explain. Senior, please release the power on the seal and completely undo the seal. What? Sima Jian was in disbelief. You know the consequences of this. The entire East Continent may be plunged into a disaster. Die in the East Continent, but not in the Eastern Wilderness. Chu Yang sneered. What does the East Continent have to do with the Eastern Wilderness? Or perhaps, Senior, you haven't had enough of being a coward. This kind of thinking was dangerous. Sima Jian was shocked and warned coldly. If the skin doesn't exist, where will the hair go? If the East Continent is taken over by the outer space demons, not only will the people living in the Eastern Wilderness suffer, the Eastern Wilderness will also be in danger. Senior, you think too much. This kind of thing won't happen. Chapter 1233. He still understood the importance of righteousness. It was just that he didn't have much of a sense of belonging to the East Continent, or even the entire Heavenly Soul world. Of course, he definitely wouldn't lead the demons into the Heavenly Soul world. What exactly do you want to do? Sima Jian really couldn't see through you, Chu Yang. Not at all. Senior, you can just stand aside and watch the show. I guarantee that there won't be any danger at all. I can guarantee it with my dignity. Sima Jian found that he wanted to beat up Chu Yang more and more. If he was still young, he would definitely say, Screw your dignity, do you still have any dignity? Are you sure? Sima Jian looked at Chu Yang and asked seriously. I'm sure, I'm very sure, I'm 100% sure. Chu Yang's tone was incomparably firm. With the help of the 7 souls of the supreme existence in the God's world, Chu Yang was very clear about the situation in the space-time tunnel and even the situation on the other side. It wouldn't be much of a problem to mess around a little. Waha, Master, wait a moment. When the parrot heard that Chu Yang was going to do something again, it was the most excited and laughed strangely. Master, let me go and tell Big Breasts that you're going to enlarge the firecracker for her to see. Otherwise, if she doesn't feel anything, wouldn't it be too unsightly? Nangong Fian. Chu Yang's eyes lit up and then he laughed. He touched his chin and thought. If I say that I did all this, I'm afraid no one will believe me. It's not impossible to mess around and make the Sky Academy a mess. That's it then. After making a decision, he praised the parrot. Little bitch, you're indeed my follower, you know my heart. As he spoke, he tapped the parrot's head and said, Go! Waha! The parrot laughed. Master, watch carefully. Flutter! The parrot flew out of the seal and went to a place where there were many people in the Sky Academy. It raised its voice. Big breasts, listen to this divine bird. Chu Heng said that he's going to set off a big firecracker for you. Watch carefully. It tried its best to spread its voice and shouted more than 10 times. The more it shouted, the more excited it became. The people of the Sky Academy quickly gathered together, and countless strange looks were cast on the parrot. Unfortunately, they did not know that the parrot liked to be in the limelight the most. As for the so-called big breasts, no one knew, but they soon found out. Bitch, I'm going to skin you alive. An angry roar that sounded like the roar of the East River resounded and reverberated in the void for a long time. Immediately, the people of the Sky Academy saw 2 peerless beauties coming together. It was like a dream. Everyone seemed to have fallen into a dream. Goddess Shangguanlan, Goddess Nangong Fian. The 2 goddesses appeared at the same time. Everyone was astonished, but they immediately felt jealous in their hearts. They felt extremely unbalanced. Chu Yang, that wild dog, not to mention that he provoked Goddess Shangguanlan, he even provoked Goddess Nangong Fian. Nangong Fian listened to the voice. Chu Yang, that wild dog, had infuriated the goddess. The more the group of animals thought about it, the angrier they became. It was difficult for them to make the goddess smile, let alone make her angry. Waha! Although the parrot laughed strangely, its heart trembled. The words it threw out a few days ago, it was afraid that this big breasts had already realized it. If they were to fight, it would be miserable. Immediately, it hinted that it was the envoy. When 2 countries were at war, they would not kill the envoy. Big breasts, this divine bird was ordered to tell you. Chu Hang will tell you later why the fireworks are so bright, why Chu Hang is Chu Hang, why it's a different color Chu Hang. Shangguanlan was really convinced. Chu Yang was not serious, and the parrot he raised was definitely not inferior. Lowly bird, what exactly does that worm want to say? Chapter 1234. The parrot bowed, its wings spread out like a human. Let me welcome the most handsome and loved master, Lord Chu Hang. Immediately, a burst of dazzling light shone from its forehead, and a figure stepped out of the light. He cupped his fist and said to everyone, Long time no see, everyone. I've missed you, but I'm sorry, I'm here again. Everyone had heard such words before, so it wasn't that exciting to them anymore. Bug, what do you want to say? Nangong Fian saw that it was just a consciousness of Chu Yang. Even if it wasn't a real person, she was more and more furious. Chu Yang smiled. Big breasts, I am here to tell you. I am responsible to tell you that I am angry and the consequences are serious. Big breasts, wild dog, your description is really accurate. Everyone in Sky Academy knew about Nangong Fian's characteristics, but who dared to say that? The animals felt even worse, but they consoled themselves. Wild Dog definitely knows that he has no hope of winning the heart of the beauty, so he is going all out. Nangong Fian was so angry that she felt dizzy. Who was the jerk? Who should be angry? A few days ago, she was the one who was taken advantage of. But she didn't expect that Chu Yang would actually complain first, saying that I am angry. She was even angrier, so angry that her lungs were about to explode. Most importantly, that roar was like a shrew's roar of a lion from Hudong, saying take care of yourself, that 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 take care of yourself, in that take care of yourself, 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 that take care of yourself. Chu Yang directly waved his hands and said goodbye. Waha! The parrot flapped its wings, running while laughing. Big breasts, remember to watch the fireworks and write down your thoughts, I am mainly checking. In the end, when it reached a safe distance, it opened its mouth. Big breasts, did you find the biggest bird? Nangong Fian screamed like a maniac. The parrot was so scared that it flew back to the seal. It let out a sigh of relief, and when it relaxed, it heard Nangong Fian's angry roar. This big breasts is really dangerous. No matter what, I can't meet her face to face, otherwise I won't be able to keep my life. After muttering, it proudly said to Chu Yang, Master, how was my job? As expected of little bitch. Chu Yang gave it a praise. Waha! The parrot was even more pleased. Looking at Chui Xinho and the other two, it didn't have any temper. This man and bird combination, they would go to Sky Academy every few days. When the three of them thought about how Chu Yang and the parrot had provoked two peerless beauties from the Sky Academy, they couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. They knew all too well how powerful peerless beauties were. It could be said responsibly that the animals in the Sky Academy were very angry, and the consequences would be severe. Senior, please open the seal. I am going to set off the firecrackers. Chu Yang had more or less deduced everything. Because of the supreme being of the God's world, the laws of heaven and earth of the God's world would easily descend upon him after the passageway was opened. Naturally, this relied on that unparalleled existence in God's world. This was good, for example, if a commander took the lead and killed his way into the enemy's formation, how could the soldiers behind not give up their lives? Sima Jian looked at Chu Yang one last time, seeing that Chu Yang wasn't joking. He prepared to cultivate, so much so that he smiled and said to the parrot, Little bitch, when you go outside, remember to broadcast everything and let me have some fun. Yes, master, I am the best at this. The parrot flew out again. Not taking it seriously, it really angered Sima Jian half to death. I want to see what you want to do. Rumble. Sima Jian made up his mind. The moment he removed the seal on the space-time tunnel, the world energy of the gods gushed in like a torrent, endless and endless. Due to the rejection of the heavenly spirit world and the myriad god world, the world energy of the myriad god world had turned into demonic energy. It was pitch black like a devil. It was like the water of a great river surging into the ocean as it poured into Chu Yang. Chapter 12:35. Boom. When the seal of the space-time tunnel was opened and the world energy of the God's world surged over, the entire sky court shook. Then, the shaking became even more obvious as if an earthquake had occurred. The ground was shaking violently. What happened? Why is it like this? The upper house is floating in the air. Even if the ground sinks, it shouldn't affect this place. The source of the shaking seems to be where the wild dog is. The entire sky court was alarmed. Everyone looked towards the seal of the space-time tunnel and saw demonic energy surging out like waves. The sky there was already dyed black. Was this the big firecracker wild dog was talking about? After a moment of silence, everyone in the sky court was in an uproar. The big firecracker wild dog was talking about is to open the seal of the space-time tunnel? They deserve to die. If the seal of the space-time tunnel is opened, won't the demons from the outer world be able to enter? Our sky court is in danger now. After being furious, everyone was terrified. However, they couldn't understand why the wild dog was doing this. Could it be that he was forced to fight to the death? Shwa. Then, countless angry gazes stared at Nangong Fian. At this moment, Nangong Fian's red lips were wide open and her beautiful eyes were wide open. She couldn't believe that Chu Yang would actually do such a thing and lead the demons from the outer world into the East continent. This way, not only would the East continent be plunged into misery and suffering, the Central continent would also be alarmed. How could the Central continent not be afraid of others imitating Chu Yang? Is he taking revenge, or is he in complete despair? Nangong Fian wasn't sure if Chu Yang wanted to take revenge on her or if he knew that there was no hope and wanted to use the demons from the outer world to destroy everything, destroy her nobility, destroy all order, and then build his own dignity on the ruins. However, no matter which it was, she couldn't accept it. Now, she was slightly regretting it. If she knew that Chu Yang's reaction would be so intense, she definitely wouldn't have dared to humiliate Chu Yang. Big Brother Yang, what are you doing? Shangguan Lan was also frightened and her face was filled with anxiety. As a result, Chu Yang wasn't just going against the entire Eastern continent, he was going against the entire heavenly spirit world. In the future, no one in the heavenly spirit world would be able to tolerate Chu Yang. It could be said that there was no place for him in this vast world. Femme fatale, truly femme fatale. Nangong Fian, what did you do to make Wild Dog do such a crazy thing? Fairies will always be fairies. They will only bring about endless disasters. This Nangong Fian is simply a disaster. With the arrival of danger, fear filled their hearts. How could they still care if Nangong Fei Yen was a goddess? They attacked and cursed at Nangong Fei Yen. Filthy words entered his ears unceasingly. Nangong Fian almost fainted. She admitted that she was responsible, but was this the way in which each of these beasts had adored her in the past? In the face of disaster, she was nothing. Waha! The parrot's weird laughter spread over. Master, the live broadcast is starting. Big Chest is being cursed by everyone, saying that she is a femme fatale, she should have died long ago. She clearly understands the fickleness of the world, as long as she isn't a top-class bird. A bird's mouth couldn't spit out ivory. Hee, so interesting, then let me take a look myself. Chapter 1236. You bastard, are you crazy? Nangong Fian was so angry that she wanted to spit out blood. Chu Yang, this bastard, actually did such a thing to take revenge on her. I am crazy? Chu Yang smiled and teased her. Look at your master, do I look crazy? After that, Chu Yang shouted to the people around, big-breasted admirers, now is the time for you to be the hero to save the beauty. Why aren't you showing off? This is the time for the beauty to give her body to you. Don't say that we didn't remind you. He still had the mood to do so. Nangong Fian gritted her teeth. Chu Yang, are you really determined to betray heavenly spirit world? You hit yours, I'll hit mine. Chu Yang didn't reply to Nangong Fian at all, he smacked his head and mocked. Oh right. Big-breasted, your Prince Charming might be rushing from Central State to East State, they are on their way. But that's not right, I heard you say that Central State is amazing, but are they really so amazing? He saw Shangguan Lan's anxious face and couldn't help but send her a message. Lan, don't worry. I, your brother goat, am just a big firecracker, I won't be able to do much. Shangguan Lan's heart calmed down, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. Looking at Nangong Fian's current appearance, her teeth were about to shatter, she was so angry that her eyes could eat people, she couldn't help but laugh. Chu Yang, wasn't this a bad thing? Wasn't this telling Nangong Fian that it wasn't a big matter and not to be nervous? How was he going to play with this girl then? Shangguan Lan, you can still laugh, look at you. Although Nangong Fian was furious, he still realized that he couldn't say that Chu Yang was Shangguan Lan's fiancé. He could only swallow his words. Chu Yang was afraid that her brain would have time to rest, so he immediately scolded her. Big breasts, you are presumptuous. Is the goddess in my heart someone you can casually scold? You are simply guilty of a heinous crime. After that, he said narcissistically, Big breasts, do you see that? I'm the real Prince Charming. When a beauty needs me, I'll be by her side. But you're actually blind and don't like this, Marshall. How shameless! How could he praise himself like that? Shangguanlan couldn't help but roll her eyes again. At this moment, the people of the Sky Academy had been alarmed. They were on high alert. Countless figures arrived at the Sky Academy and sealed off the space-time passageway from all directions to deal with the arrival of the extraterrestrial demons. Lu Yunpeng, Xiao Wanjin, Gong Sun Long, and the others also appeared. Although they were furious, they all had strange looks in their eyes. Did the wild dog make a move in advance because he knows he's going to die? Or maybe he's warning us? They didn't believe that Chu Yang really dared to completely open the seal. Everyone who appeared in the Sky Academy had an extremely strong aura, and their cultivation was also extremely amazing. Many of them were in the Nirvana realm, and many were in the life and death realm. Looking at all this, Chu Yang was very satisfied. He secretly evaluated, is this considered a mess? I don't think so. I often remember that at dusk in the pavilion, I'm drunk and don't know the way back. When I'm done, I return to the boat late and mistakenly enter the depths of the lotus flower. Fight to cross, and startle a group of gulls and herons. After expressing his current mood, Chu Yang cupped his hands and said to the crowd, "Everyone, haven't you always wanted to kill me? Now you can do it. You don't have to worry about anything anymore." He needed to convey a message that a cornered dog would jump over a wall. If he was cornered, there was nothing he couldn't do. Chu Yang, don't be impulsive. What happened before was only done by a few people. It doesn't mean that the Sky Academy has people. Chapter 1237. Kiki. Chu Yang mocked. Only a small number of people. Old mister, when you say those words, please tell me that you are speaking from your heart. The old voice stopped right away. Scoff. Chu Yang laughed coldly. So insincere, you actually want to use a few words to fool me, do you really think that I am a kid? He then said to Nangong Fian, Big Chest, you don't have a Prince Charming to save you, so I will help you clear your name. You're right. I don't like you, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for the entire Eastern continent. I want to give everyone who humiliates the Eastern Barren Territory, who wants to harm me, and who wants to kill me, a big surprise. Chu Yang didn't want to miss this opportunity to make a fuss. Big Chest, when you choose guys in the future, open your eyes wider, I won't be able to help you every time. Nangong Fian was so angry that she didn't know how to scold him. Don't be emotional, you don't need to thank me. Chu Yang continued to tease her like no one was around, but you have to remember one thing. All those guys who loved you are all trash, you have to give them all up? I thank you, you bastard. Nangong Fian's hatred was deeper than the ocean. No one made a move, no one made a sound, they just stared at Chu Yang with unkind expressions. This was just a bit of Chu Yang's consciousness, so even if they killed it, it would only make Chu Yang do even crazier things. So, who would dare to anger Chu Yang and scold him as a wild dog? Chu Yang was really relaxed, he laid in midair and hugged his head. He looked at the clouds and said, Guys, the clouds in the sky are so beautiful. I like to see how all of you want me to die but can't kill me, that is so beautiful. What do you want? A voice spread out from the air, trying to salvage the situation. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. Why don't we trick him into giving us a promise? While he was thinking about this, he was still lying in the air, looking at the white clouds. He smiled and said, I should be the one asking you this question. What do you want? After a moment of silence, the voice sounded again. The Sky Court can't control how the East Continent is in the Eastern Wilderness. However, in the Sky Court, from today onwards, the Eastern Wilderness and the East Continent will be treated equally. Anyone who insults the Eastern Wilderness will be killed without mercy. What do you think? You're showing some sincerity. Chu Yang realized that this was not very useful, but it was better than nothing. Thus he said, Then you announce it. I can make the situation a little less serious. Otherwise, After a short negotiation, they reached an agreement. Soon, the voice in the void sounded again, But unexpectedly, another voice appeared and announced a new rule. Listen up, Sky Academy. As the leader of the Sky Academy, I hereby announce a new rule. From today onward, anyone who insults the Eastern Wilderness will be killed without mercy. The leader? Chu Yang was shocked. The leader of the Sky Court was the ultimate combat power of the Sky Court, and he was also the one who really controlled the Sky Court. However, he was hidden behind the scenes. Thus, on the surface, the leader of the Sky Court was the one who controlled the entire Sky Court. He only knew this from Shangguanlan. Of course, this was not a particularly big secret, and many people in the Sky Court knew about it. Hehe, you've even blown this big fish out? Chu Yang was a little proud. It seemed useless to be able to talk to the leader of the Sky Court directly, but it would have a great impact. After all, he could directly contact the leader. There were pros and cons. This might offend the leader of the Sky Court, but it did not seem to be very important. The leader of the Sky Court must have always had a bad impression of the Eastern Wilderness. Old sir, are you very angry now? When this matter is settled, we'll settle the score. Little guy, there's no need to measure the heart of a gentleman with one's own yardstick. I have full respect for you, leader. Chu Yang stood up and looked in the direction of the voice. He cupped his fists and said, Old sir, in order to express my respect for you, I'll show you a bigger firecracker. What? The leader had condescended to speak, but Wild Dog dared to not compromise. Everyone was shocked. What kind of person was the leader? Wild Dog's disrespectful tone just now was a serious crime, let alone not compromise. Wild Dog acted like this. How would the leader react? Chapter 1238. The silence in the void did not last long, but everyone felt that it was extremely long. It was as if 10,000 years had passed before a voice came from the void again. Let's wait and see. The leader's voice was emotionless. Even though Wild Dog was completely unsealed, he did not seem to be afraid at all. Unfortunately, this leader is not an ordinary person. I can't even think about provoking his emotions. I'm afraid that he has already reached his limit by speaking. Chu Yang felt that it was a pity. His current status could not be compared to the leader of the Sky Academy at all. He was not even worthy of the leader's attention. For example, when he killed the lower house master and the pill fire sage in the lower house, the leader did not show up because he was not qualified to do so. Old mister, I promise you will be satisfied. Chu Yang was very curious about how the leader of the Sky Academy would react later. Later, not only would the seal of one spacetime passage be affected, but all the spacetime passages in the Sky Academy would be affected. Even the entire heavenly soul realm would be shaken. There was one seal in the chores yard of the lower house, and 3 seals in the upper house. The seal that Chu Yang was in was the second largest spacetime passage seal in the Sky Academy, and the largest one was in his place. After a short period of time, Chu Yang's consciousness sensed something and looked in the direction of the voice. Old mister, please turn on the viewing mode. It's about to begin. Rumble. As soon as Chu Yang finished speaking, a loud rumbling sound exploded. At this moment, everyone felt as if they were struck by lightning. There was a buzzing sound in their ears and consciousness. The ground beneath their feet began to shake, and the entire sky courtyard began to tremble. It was as if a mountain was about to collapse. Billowing black smoke swept out and quickly spread throughout the courtyard. In the blink of an eye, the Sky Academy was completely shrouded by the demonic aura. The light suddenly dimmed, as if the end of the world was coming. A disaster was about to begin, and lives were about to be harvested and death was about to arrive. In an instant, everyone was in a panic. Fear spread rapidly like a plague and became more and more intense. Soon, everyone noticed that the 3 seals had all been affected. The billowing demonic aura surged out from them and filled the entire Sky Academy. Chu Yang, have you really gone mad? You actually want to open 3 seals at the same time. Nangong Fian immediately screamed. He didn't expect Chu Yang to be this crazy. Although Chu Yang had just exonerated her, how could she completely remove herself from the situation? If this continued, she would become a sinner. When that time came, she would really be condemned by thousands and spurned by tens of thousands. Thus, to Nangong Fian, this moment was simply the most difficult moment in his life. Fear, anxiety, loneliness, unbearable, it seemed that only by killing himself could he be free. She almost prayed, hoping that the great time would immediately take her away from this moment. Either she would return to the time before she met Chu Yang, or she would go directly to the future. No matter what, she couldn't stay in the present. Big breasts, you need breasts. Chu Yang laughed in his heart. He liked to see Nangong Fian so anxious and flustered. Waha, this sentence contains a lot of information. The parrot laughed strangely. Let me explain it for everyone. Men have to be calm, women have to have breasts. My lord is truly insightful. Truly shameless. Shangguan Lan, who had free time, was truly annoyed. She also couldn't endure Chu Yang's insightful words. If it was any other time, Nangong Fian would care about this, but now, how could she care about it? She screamed again. You lunatic, quickly stop! Chapter 1239. At this time, Lu Yunpeng, Xia Wanjin, Gongsun Long, and the others narrowed their eyes. Wild Dog had gone completely crazy. Wild Dog, are you crazy? If you let the extraterrestrial demons in, you'll die too. Wild Dog, it's not like we can't resist the extraterrestrial demons. At that time, not only you, but all of you in the eastern wilderness will be Wild Dog, but also sinners. You'll be the public enemy of everyone, and no one will tolerate you. Sinners? Sinners? Dogs. Wild Dog, do you think you can threaten us just because you're crazy? It's not the first time that the extraterrestrial demons have invaded. Wild Dog, how useful can your method be? You're overestimating yourself and seeking death. The crowd was in an uproar. They cursed Chu Yang out of anger, and their words were very provocative. It was very noisy, but for Chu Yang, the world was very quiet. When Wild Dog's voice entered his ears, he deeply realized that the contempt of the East continent in the eastern wilderness was ingrained in their bones. He was completely presumptuous to win people over with virtue. There was only one way, that was to kill until they were afraid, kill until they were completely subdued and stood above their heads. Only time could erase them. The task is really difficult, Chu Yang said to himself. Then he grinned and said, You're right, and I admire your righteousness. I just don't know how many of you can survive after resisting the extraterrestrial demons. The crowd fell silent. Chu Yang didn't let them go. He sneered and said, You're really great. Your generosity has moved me. I'll give you a compliment. I just hope that the people of the East continent won't be too forgetful. Otherwise, how can you go down in history? Ha! The parrot added, You'll die, but I'll die. No, you'll die in the Sky Academy, but not in the East continent. The heroes of the Sky Academy are really good friends. The people who were clamoring were choked to death, unable to even let out a fart. They really wanted to leave their names in history. Otherwise, why would they insult the Wild Dog like that? Wouldn't they be forcing the Wild Dog to do something stupid? Everyone was selfish. How many of them weren't selfish? Chu Yang, let's talk things over calmly. Don't be so agitated. There's nothing that can't be discussed. That's right. Those who spoke before were all brainless. Not to mention dogs, they're worse than dogs. Why do you have to be angry over this bullshit? They're worse than dogs. This is slandering dogs. How could they link them to dogs? This is simply unreasonable. Immediately, someone came out to soften the tone, and they did their best to attack those who were shouting at Chu Yang. As for these people who were scolded like this, not only did they not express any anger, they even pretended to be remorseful. The reversal was so great that it was ridiculous. Chu Yang couldn't be bothered with him. He was already lying on his back in the air, looking at the white clouds leisurely. However, he couldn't help but say in his heart, if we're talking about shamelessness, Grandpa Chu is definitely not as shameless as you guys. This was really shameless. The parrot didn't say anything. It really regarded these people as lowly. As the saying went, it was a waste of effort to play the lute to a cow, and the parrot didn't talk to lowly people. At this moment, at the seal, Chu Yang felt that only the space-time passage of the Sky Academy was affected by the impact of the divine realm. He was very disappointed. What a pity. I thought that I could shake the entire heavenly soul realm. It seems that I still thought too simply. Chapter 1240. The Myriad Gods World's Heaven and Earth Law, along with the Myriad Gods World's world energy, had already descended on Chu Yang's body. In an instant, he felt an exotic feeling that reached his bones. In an instant, he felt as if he had returned to the ancient feudal era, as if he had crossed through time and space to arrive at the future. He felt a completely different and novel thing, a completely different world. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, an explosion occurred in his body. Muffled sounds like muffled thunder resounded. Balls of light burst out from the explosion, tearing apart the incomparably dense darkness, illuminating Sima Jian, Cui Xinho, and the other two behind him. Pooh! Chu Yang's body shook violently. His internal organs were damaged, burning with pain. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and even his body was faintly cracking. He couldn't help but exclaim, the collision of the two worlds' laws is truly tyrannical. Even though I was prepared, I still suffered heavy injuries. Different worlds' laws, especially when the heavenly spirit world and the myriad gods world were so hostile, it was like two enemies gathered in his body. How could there not be a conflict, and in the end, only one could survive? Chu Yang had the Destiny Twins martial spirits, which had evolved into the divine demon martial spirit. In addition, he also had the seven soul origins of the two worlds' supreme figures. Thus, he felt that his body could accommodate the two worlds' laws at the same time, and he could use this to completely consolidate the foundation of the everlasting physique he had envisioned. He immediately used the seven soul origins of the two worlds' supreme figures. Immediately, the two worlds' laws each had 7 generals, and with them as the leaders, they formed a confrontation, but they were still fiercely clashing. The sound of explosions was still continuous, but it became much more orderly. In just an instant, he had become a person of blood. His skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and internal organs were all shattered. He felt that his body was no longer his own. As expected, it's still not enough. The two supreme figures were life and death enemies when they were alive. In the end, they fought until they perished together. Although their wills have dispersed, and I obtained their 7 soul origins and refined them into my own, in the unseen world, their identities as archenemies are still incompatible. Chu Yang also thought about this point, but the result of the deduction was very simple. Wasn't it just a balance of yin and yang? What's so difficult about it? Thus, he didn't panic. Destiny Twins martial spirits, God martial spirit and Devil martial spirit. He roared in his mind and used his greatest trump card. 2 waves of immense pressure descended. The appearance of the 2 martial spirits was like the appearance of their respective commanders. Both sides immediately stopped fighting. However, the constant influx of the power of laws from the world of gods instantly destroyed the balance. Once again, clashes broke out, and explosions rang out. Under the assistance of the 7 soul origins of the 2 supreme existences, the Destiny Twins quickly restored the balance between the two. After that, the cycle repeated itself. Intermittent sounds of explosions came from Chu Yang's body. The 2 levels were clearly visible on his body. His midline was a dragon-shaped curve that divided his body into 2 parts. One part was the law of the heavenly spirit world, shining with boundless light. The other part was the law of the gods, shrouded in endless darkness. Not even a sliver of light could be seen from it. Half light, half darkness, half god, half devil. It was as if half a white hole and half a black hole had joined together to form a perfect circle. This kind of perfect circle seemed to be a kind of perfection and more like a kind of Tao. Its meaning was indescribable. Chu Yang's current situation was also indescribable. The spiritual qi, meridians, blood, flesh, and bones in his body seemed to have been split into two halves. Even his martial spirit and his soul were cut apart. A great feeling of tearing filled every nerve in his body. Chapter 1241. Your Grandpa Chu is in so much pain, #yen, #yen%%. He still had the strength to curse. Thus, although Sima Jian and the other three saw the terrifying wounds on Chu Yang's body, including the bloody holes, the exposed bones, and the shattered internal organs, they did not make a sound. Chu Yang's current appearance was simply like a person who had died a tragic death and returned as a malicious spirit. It was as if he was slowly being torn apart from the inside out. It was extremely terrifying. Rumble. As the world energy of the heavenly soul world continued to pour in, the world energy of the heavenly soul world also poured in. Above the seal, the two forces of lightning tangled together, canceling each other out. No lightning punishment descended. Sima Jian and the other three heaved a sigh of relief. The most dangerous part was finally over. They were almost scared to death by Chu Yang. Is this a big firecracker for Zhongzhou Province, the East Continent and the Sky Academy? It's a super big firecracker for them. They could only use one word to describe Chu Yang's actions: crazy. Chu Yang was simply a madman. He actually dared to let the power of the rules of two worlds entangle and collide in his body. Anyone with a bit of rationality would know that this would lead to certain death. Who would dare to do such a thing? However, not only had Chu Yang done it, but it also seemed like he was going to succeed. There is only a fine line between a genius and a lunatic. Then, the four of them became slightly excited. If Chu Yang succeeded, they weren't sure what the benefits would be. However, they were sure that the benefits would be unimaginable. This was a great fortune. Even the most supreme existences in the heavenly soul world and the myriad god world might not have been able to obtain such a fortune. They also completely understood why Chu Yang didn't say anything in advance. If he had said it, none of them would have agreed with a madman's idea. There is Taiji and Yi, which is the two polarities. Wuji gave birth to Taiji gave birth to Yin and Yang gave birth to 3 talents gave birth to 4 divisions gave birth to 5 elements gave birth to 6 mi gave birth to 7 constellations gave birth to 8 trigrams gave birth to 9 palaces gave birth to 10 circles. 10 gives birth to Yang, Yin combines, and Yin and Yang combine to form 12 cycles. Thus, the Taiji transforms into all things, and the cycle of life and death repeats itself. The limitless body. Chu Yang tried to operate the limitless body that he had deduced, but he found it incomparably difficult. In the end, he let out a roar and frantically activated his Destiny Twins martial spirits, as well as the 7 soul origins of the 2 supreme characters. Crack, crack, zap, zap. Suddenly, the sound of metal rang out from his body. It was as if 2 huge metal gears were grinding together and were about to rotate. Boom. A moment later, there was a loud explosion. Chu Yang's body exploded. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. It was as if he was only a skeleton left. One could even clearly see that his broken spine was being supported by an inexplicable power. His 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls were also fully revealed. Thin threads were constantly intertwining on his broken body and soul, imprinting themselves into them. Laws, the lines of laws actually appeared, the lines of laws of the two worlds actually appeared. Sima Jian and the other three were shocked, but no one made a sound. They all stared at the scene. Regardless of whether they understood it or not, the more they could remember, the more opportunities they would get. The operation of the great Tao was invisible. Chu Yang couldn't feel it at all, let alone make it appear. He was only sure that if he did so, the laws of the two worlds would definitely appear and entangle him. Now, the collision of the two worlds actually caused their respective laws to appear. Pop, pop. Mysterious waves rushed out from Chu Yang's body, forming the yin and yang formation, the three talents formation, the four symbols formation, and so on, until the 10-square formation. The forces of the two worlds on Chu Yang's body slowly formed a balance like water and fire, yin and yang hugging each other, and the sun and moon moving side by side. This caused the forces of the two worlds to also calm down. This was especially obvious outside the seal. In the Sky Academy, whether it was the Upper Academy or the Lower Academy, the riot at the space-time tunnel completely subsided, and the world returned to peace again. Is it done? Chu Yang's consciousness outside muttered in his heart. Then, he said to everyone with a smile, "The firecrackers have been set off. I'll take my leave now." After that, he directly left. Plop. Chapter 1242. Nangong Fian was so angry that she fell to the ground in anger. She was played by Chu Yang, this bastard, she was played in circles. That's right, Chu Yang was taking revenge on her, Nangong Fian's arrogance that night. Nangong Fian fell to the ground and pretended to faint, not moving at all. When she thought about how she was tricked, her ugly appearance, her screams, fear, anxiety, worry, etc., she didn't want to live anymore. Shameful, too shameful. She, Nangong Fian, was like an idiot, being played by Chu Yang. It was easier to play with a monkey than to play with her. In her entire life, she had never been so humiliated, so resentful as she was right now. That bastard, he only set off a firecracker and she had to take off her underwear. How can I face people? Woo-woo, I don't want to live anymore. Nangong Fian wanted to hit the ground, but she was afraid that people would notice that she didn't faint, so she had to suppress her anger. Shangguanlan was speechless. She naturally knew that Nangong Fian didn't faint and noticed that Nangong Fian wanted to hit the ground and was about to go berserk. Brother Yang, you really played with Fei Fei this time. She held her forehead, her head was slightly hurting. Thinking about it, just Chu Yang's chest was enough to make Nangong Fian go berserk in the past, not to mention now. You won't rest until you die, Brother Yang, really. Even if you are angry, you don't have to be so angry, right? Although Shangguanlan knew that angering Nangong Fian wasn't the main goal, she really couldn't tolerate Chu Yang anymore. Fei Fei was a girl, wouldn't she be embarrassed to death like this? Let's go. Shangguanlan went up and hugged Nangong Fian, instantly bringing her away from this place that was worse than death. Sky Quartz people naturally came back to their senses and were stunned on the spot. They stared blankly at each other, not making a single sound. Playing with the warlords? No, even playing with the warlords wasn't so overboard. There was no talk of opening the seal, nor was there any invasion of extraterrestrial demons, nor was there any war or the end of the world. The wild dog had only grasped their mentality and played them in circles, and even watched them make a fool of themselves on the side. Just now, Wild Dog probably laughed until his intestines were cramped. Especially those who were shouting, their faces were burning. They were actually so excited and treated it so seriously. Were they stupid? Those who responded with kind words were even worse. They thought they could compromise, consider the big picture, and appease the wild dog. They thought they were smart, but they were afraid that by the time they spoke, the wild dog would have already burst out laughing. Bastard, wild dog, I $% hashtag. In just a moment, curses and roars shook the sky. Everyone in Sky Court was furious. Who would joke about such a thing? Didn't they know that it would scare people to death? Lu Yunpeng, Xia Wanjin, Gongsun Long and the others, although they didn't gather in one place, their expressions were almost the same. They were actually played by Wild Dog from the beginning to the end. They were really played by a stupid dog. Wasn't this very funny? Almost all of their guesses were wrong, perhaps only one point was right. Wild Dog issued a warning, but the warning was for Sky Court. Lu Yunpeng suddenly had a feeling that he had become mentally retarded. This feeling was terrible. He couldn't help but hatefully say, "Damn it." Chapter 1243. Xia Wanjin, Gongsun Long, and the others were in the same mood as Lu Yunpeng. They hadn't even made a move against Chu Yang, but they had already been defeated. This humiliation of being toyed with made them feel ashamed and resentful. This little guy really has a temper, the leader of the Sky Academy said with a smile, which silenced the crowd. It seemed to be a compliment, but no one could tell if it was because the leader of the Sky Academy seemed to have left completely after saying that. Is there any justice in this world? Wild Dog did such a horrible thing, but he was praised by the leader. Many people stamped their feet in anger. Damned Wild Dog, don't let me get the chance, or else I'll definitely torture you to death. I'll let you know what it means to beg for life but not beg for death. Even more people were furious, gnashing their teeth. What he did made the whole Sky Academy hate Chu Yang to the core. Everyone wanted to tear Chu Yang to pieces immediately. What happened in the Sky Academy spread like a storm. After hearing the news, people in the East Continent snickered, and they also hated Chu Yang's behavior. After all, how could an extraterrestrial demon be a joke? Chu Yang called himself Eastern Wilderness 002. At this time, many people in the East Continent were skeptical, but they couldn't be sure. However, they were sure that even if Chu Yang wasn't the Eastern Wilderness 002, he was definitely as bold as the Eastern Wilderness 002. Ha ha! When the news spread to the barren village, the people in the village didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, Chu Fei, Saint Sun Zither Sound, Silver Wolf, and the others burst into laughter. Chu Yang was getting more and more outrageous. When he was in the Five Elements sect in the Eastern Wilderness, he didn't make such a big fuss. However, in the East Continent, his demonic nature seemed to be completely released. This is really my little brother's character, but I'm afraid he's in trouble this time. I'm afraid no one in the East Continent will welcome him. Saint Sun Zither Sound thought about it and could only smile bitterly. The disadvantages outweighed the advantages. Ha ha! Chu Fei was still laughing. Second brother, do you think I'll care whether people in the East Continent like him or hate him? He, with little brother's nature, although he is mischievous, if it wasn't for someone provoking him, he wouldn't have done such a thing. Saint Sun Zither Sound turned to look at Chu Fei. In this way, my little brother's situation must be very bad. How can you still laugh? Why can't I laugh? Chu Fei was amused. I don't think it's that simple for such a situation where the disadvantages outweigh the benefits. My little brother must have planned something else, and even used it to deceive others. He should have succeeded now. The saint child was stunned for a moment before nodding. That's right. I don't think little brother is just playing a prank. Second brother is definitely not a simple prank. Don't you know my senior brother? He won't act unless there's an incentive. He won't wake up early if there's no benefit. This time, he must have made a lot of money. After laughing, Silver Wolf said to Wang Bushong, "Did you see that? I'm really your Uncle Chu's junior brother. Can you give me the 7 Kneels of Stars?" Ha ha! Seeing that Silver Wolf was so impatient that he was about to kneel down, Chu Fei and the rest of the villagers burst out in laughter again. Whether it was Chu Yang or his junior brother, they were all clowns. With them around, there would be no lack of joke. It was enough to make people laugh to death. No, absolutely not. Wang Bushong shook his head like a rattledrum. He was very determined. Mom said that this was given by Uncle Chu. It's a great opportunity and extremely precious. Without Uncle Chu's permission, no one can give it to him. Ha ha! Everyone couldn't help but burst into laughter again. This was the umpteenth time. Chapter 1244. I say, are you a blockhead? Your Uncle Chu and I are fellow apprentices. We wear the same pants. How can your Uncle Chu not give it to me? The Silver Wolf was extremely anxious. Chu Fei said, Little Wolf, is the Celestial Lord's 7 Neals that important to you? If so, I can speak to Madame Wang on your behalf. Yes, yes. Xiao Guai nodded. The Silver Wolf said seriously, Big brother, it's very important. I didn't expect senior brother to give me such a big gift as soon as I arrived in the East Continent. After a pause, his expression darkened. As for the reason, it's better that you don't know. Then you can slowly beg, the saint child said. Chu Fei nodded. I have to think about it too. Should I send a letter to junior brother and tell him not to give you the Celestial Lord's 7 Neals? Otherwise, he'll have to collect your corpse one day. Big brother, second brother, don't. The Silver Wolf panicked. Chu Fei stopped joking and said seriously, Little Wolf, your senior brother has snatched the Celestial Lord's 7 Neals. He should be fighting to the death with your enemy. As for junior brother's enemy, do you think your second brother and I can stay out of it? The Silver Wolf couldn't smile anymore. His face darkened. Chu Fei and the Saint Child didn't say anything. The scene suddenly quieted down, and the laughter completely disappeared. Big brother, second brother, follow me. After the Silver Wolf spoke, Chu Fei said to the people in the wilderness village, Uncle Hu, Brother Yang, Brother Wang, I'm sorry. There are some things that you'd better not know. Ah Fei, we know, Uncle Hu said. Besides, this is what you should do. Why do you have to be so careful? We won't mind. Then I'm sorry. Chu Fei and the others followed the Silver Wolf to a quiet place. The Silver Wolf said, Big brother, second brother, I'm actually not from the Eastern Wilderness. I'm a baby that Master saved from the East Continent. As for this secret, even my senior brother doesn't know. Chu Fei and the others only listened and did not disturb him. My master doesn't know the exact identity of my enemy either. He only vaguely guessed it. He doesn't know the truth. The Silver Wolf continued, My parents sealed a memory in my consciousness. Apart from other things, they also told me the cause and effect of the matter. After a long pause, he continued, I am the descendant of Lord Tai Bai Jinxing, the only descendant left. What? Chu Fei and the others were shocked as they looked at the Silver Wolf in astonishment. Star Monarch, because Star Monarch had knelt 7 times. During this period of time, they were very clear about Star Monarch, but they never thought that Silver Wolf was actually a descendant of Star Monarch. But soon, their surprise disappeared. It was not important whether the Silver Wolf was a descendant of Lord Tai Bai Jinxing. They just needed to know that it was a Silver Wolf. My ancestor had an enemy, and he had always vowed to take revenge. This was passed down from generation to generation. Finally, one of his descendants had extraordinary talent, and he used this opportunity to enter the Star Do Academy that my 36th ancestor had established. The Silver Wolf's enemy was the current Academy Master of the Star Do Academy. After entering the Star Do Academy and obtaining a high position, he used the Star Do Academy's power to find the location of the Silver Wolf clan and hired the Myriad Demon sect to launch a sneak attack on the Silver Wolf clan. At that time, the Silver Wolf clan had already declined to the extreme. They had even lost the Star Monarch Transcendence image, 7 Neals, and many other secret techniques. They were too weak and were all slaughtered. The Silver Wolf was a descendant of Lord Tai Bai Jinxing. If he could obtain the 7 Neels of Lord Tai Bai Jinxing and the Star Monarch Transcendence image, he would be many times stronger than others. He could even temporarily reappear a Star Monarch who had died. The Silver Wolf originally had his own plan. He wanted to enter the Star Do Academy and obtain this secret technique, but it would be very difficult. He didn't know how much effort he would have to put in. After all, the 7 Neels of Lord Tai Bai Jinxing was the most supreme secret technique in the Star Do Academy. How could he obtain it so easily? Therefore, when he heard that Chu Yang had obtained the 7 Neels of Lord Tai Bai Jinxing from the Star Do Academy, he almost went crazy with joy. "I'll go talk to Madame Wang." After hearing this, Chu Fei strode out. Chapter 1245. The next day after Chu Yang made fun of the whole Sky Academy, Lu Yunpeng came to find Xia Wanjin. "Brother Xia, I have a favor to ask of you." Lu Yunpeng came straight to the point. "Brother Xia, when you go to find Wild Dog, please help me give these 1,300 spiritual veins to Wild Dog." After hearing this, Xia Wanjin couldn't help but smile meaningfully. "Brother Lu, if you don't want to hear the words 'return the money' again, just send someone to do it. You don't have to entrust it to me." Return the money. Lu Yunpeng was currently allergic to these 2 words. The moment he heard them, he immediately recalled the humiliation he had suffered that day. With a boom, an incomparably dangerous aura erupted from his body. He was like a ferocious tiger that wanted to devour its prey. Screech, a high-pitched screech came from his body, and there seemed to be a ferocious bird in his pupils, but he didn't know what kind of ferocious bird it was. After that, a mocking smile suddenly appeared on Lu Yunpeng's face. "Although I love Shangguanlan, I don't think I'm as anxious as you, Brother Xia." Wild Dog made an issue of the seal to warn the Sky Academy and indirectly intimidate us. Xia Wanjin was not angry. He still smiled elegantly. "Brother Lu, aren't you angry at all? Don't you have any ideas? Don't you want Wild Dog to experience what fear is before he dies?" "Ha ha!" Lu Yunpeng couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Since it's like this, then help me pass on a message to my Wild Dog. I'll treat him as prey and compete with you. Let's see which one of us will cut off his dog head." Swish! Lu Yunpeng threw down the spiritual veins and left. "This seems to be a good idea." Xia Wanjin smiled playfully and said, "I'm afraid those old guys in the Sky Academy can't wait any longer. They must be eager for me to test the Wild Dog's situation." He pondered for a moment and immediately said, "Someone, go and stir up the atmosphere. Say that I'm going to tease the Wild Dog and spread the news that the Wild Dog will die in the outer court assessment." Teasing a wild dog. If he wasn't present, how could he display his might? "Yes, young master." After the servant left, Xia Wanjin sneered again. "That might not be enough. Today, I will let the Wild Dog know what the difference between us is. Otherwise, why would he be trembling in fear, waiting for death to descend in endless fear?" A dark, ruthless, gloomy, and extremely evil aura suddenly erupted from his body. In an instant, he was like a giant snake that was flicking its tongue. He stretched out his hand and pressed it into the void. Suddenly, strange patterns appeared in the void. Evil aura surged and black smoke surged out. Then, a rumbling sound could be heard as a space-time portal opened up, from which 4 hell-born fiend devils flew out like wooden sticks. They landed on the ground with a thump, causing the ground to tremble. These 4 strong great demons were surrounded by rolling devil aura. They had 2 pairs of bat wings, and the barbs at the ends were glowing with a terrifying light. When they opened, they could be 30 meters long. 4 winged demons in hell. It was amazing that Xia Wanjin had 4 hell demons. Demons were extremely arrogant, cunning, treacherous, and cruel. 4 demons. Humans were like the people in the eastern wilderness who were discriminated against in the East continent. They were extremely disdainful. They only regarded humans as food and were very difficult to submit to. In addition, they had to enter hell to capture demons. This was extremely dangerous. Without absolute strength, no one dared to enter hell and face a group of demons. Some strange patterns flashed on the bodies of the 4 demons. These patterns were very faint and completely integrated with the demons. If one didn't look carefully, it would be difficult to find them. Chapter 1246. The patterns on the demon's body covered the demon's entire body. They were like chains that firmly locked the demon in place, not only on their bodies but also in their souls. Once the demons resisted, they would be strangled and their souls scattered. Their bodies would be cut into pieces. It was very vicious. Xia Wanjin had used these patterns to control the 4 infernal devils. Plop! As soon as the 4 demons appeared, they immediately knelt down in front of Xia Wanjin and lowered their noble heads. All their resentment was hidden deep in their hearts, and they didn't dare to reveal it at all. Their bodies were trembling in fear. You finally know how to be afraid. Xia Wanjin sneered. Spiritual energy gushed out and turned into a white bone whip. These whips seemed to have been polished from human bones. They were chained together, section by section. Evil energy lingered around them, making them look extremely sinister. They were also emitting all kinds of terrifying cries, as if they were the screams of malicious spirits. Smack! The whip hit one of the demons hard, and its flesh was immediately corroded. Black smoke billowed out, and the wound was so deep that one could see the bones. The extremely ferocious demon, who had a strong body, immediately convulsed and screamed after being hit by this whip. Moreover, demons were evil and came from the same source as evil. However, the evil aura on the whip was so terrifying that even the demons couldn't resist it. You did a lot better this time. You hid your resentment well, but I still noticed it. Next time, you'd better do a better job. His voice was bone-chilling, and his eyes were very cold and emotionless. Yes, master. The 4 demons were full of fear and lowered their heads even more. I'm going to show off later. You should know what to do, right? We definitely won't embarrass you, master. After receiving Xia Wanjin's order, the 4 demons didn't dare to slack off. They pulled themselves together, took out a golden frame, and respectfully asked Xia Wanjin to sit on it. Then, they carried him straight away. The 4 demons with ferocious horns flapped their huge bat wings and carried a golden frame. They shuttled in the void, and their demonic aura was very strong. As soon as they appeared, they alarmed the entire sky courtyard. God, who can make demons as servants? Who is this big shot? It's simply astonishing. How savage are the fiends to be able to make them submit like this? It seems to be Xia Wanjin. Looking at the direction he's heading, he should be heading towards the wild dog. Someone said that Xia Wanjin was going to teach him a lesson. Looks like it's true. Let's go. Let's follow them and take a look. As soon as Xia Wanjin appeared, he attracted everyone's attention. Many geniuses of the Sky Academy also looked shocked. Boom! When they arrived at their destination, the 4 demons came to an abrupt halt at high speed. They stopped in an instant and were extremely stable, vividly displaying their valiance. At that moment, due to Xia Wanjin's arrangements, there were already a lot of people gathered there. When Xia Wanjin arrived, he immediately caused an uproar. Xia Wanjin had an elegant demeanor, like a fine young master in a chaotic world. His handsome face, wealth, and profound background made him even more attractive to young girls. In addition, the 4 eye-catching demons were even more astonishing. In terms of appearance, there were many people who could match him, but, in terms of temperament and prestige, there were not many people in the Sky Academy who could match him. Young master, I've been calling for a long time, but the wild dog didn't respond at all. When the servant came back to report, Xiao Wanjin's eyes narrowed. Could it be that something really happened to the wild dog? After that, his expression turned cold. You mean to say that you want me to wait here for a stray dog, right? Chapter 1247. At the seal, after Chu Yang's injuries had healed completely, he used the divine devil twins to split his divine avatar and his devil avatar to cultivate together. This way, he could make more attempts to confirm the situation. His divine perception was powerful, and he could sense what was going on outside, but he was not in the mood to care. Cui Xinho and the other two were also cultivating, as was the parrot. However, after hearing the clamor, it was no longer in the mood to cultivate. It just wanted Xiao Wanjin to wait. After all, what kind of bird was it? Was it someone he could meet just because he wanted to? Wild dog, do you not want the spirit vein anymore? Spirit vein. The parrot's eyes lit up, and it could not hold back any longer. It flapped its wings and flew out. Waha, is this divine bird's spirit vein finally here? It was proud of its work, and it wanted to show its pride in its words. Only a damned bird came? Xiao Wanjin's eyes turned cold. Where's Chu Yang? Tch. The parrot poked it with its wing. Do you think my master is someone you can meet just because you want to? Look at yourself first. What's the point of showing off when you owe a debt? You have a sharp tongue and you're proud of being shameless. Looks like I have to teach you a lesson, you lowly bird. Xiao Wanjin's voice was emotionless, without the slightest hint of emotion. He was still far away from the parrot, but in the blink of an eye, his voice echoed above the parrot. Boom! Like a ghost, Xiao Wanjin appeared above the parrot and pressed down with his palm. With a loud bang, the heavens shook and the earth shook. The mighty black spirit energy surged out in an earth-shattering manner, covering the entire area within 100 steps of the parrot. Dark, evil, gloomy, and ruthless aura filled the sky. It was unparalleled. Billowing black spirit chi blotted out the sky and dyed the void there pitch black. You sneak attack me, you bastard! The parrot was shocked. It never thought that Xiao Wanjin would attack it so directly. Furthermore, it was so ruthless. The aura he emitted shocked it. In this critical moment, the parrot let out a roar and flapped its wings. The devil dragon shot out, and a black devil mountain appeared. Atop the devil mountain was a golden temple, from which the sound of Buddhist chanting could be heard. This was Gongsun Ying's combination martial soul. Now that the parrot was using it, it was incredibly powerful. Rumble! When the two attacks collided, the parrot's pupils constricted. Its technique was like a piece of paper that had been torn apart. Its entire body trembled as if it had been struck by lightning. It let out a miserable shriek as it was sent flying dozens of meters away. Before it even landed on the ground, black blood spurted out from Chi. Humph! You actually didn't die from my attack. Xiao Wanjin's expression was cold as he once again appeared in front of the parrot and pushed his hand down. Surging black spiritual chi rushed out and turned into a black cloud. Light and shadow intertwined like swords. Faintly, there seemed to be something terrifying within it, emitting an aura that could destroy the world. What filthy thing! The parrot's face fell as it sensed an intense aura of death. This divine bird will fight you to the death. At this critical moment, it threw caution to the wind and roared, "Radiant judgment, radiant spear." 9-colored spiritual energy spurted out from its body. As it flapped its wings, the 9-colored spiritual energy transformed into a 9-colored divine spear. It pierced through the air and met Xiao Wanjin's hand. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.